welcome back to another episode of the How Long to Beat podcast. I'm your host, Paula, joined today, as always, by Josh over there.
What's up, everybody?
So we're kind of back here to talk about some, I guess, Black Friday deals, especially since there's so many stuff about.
Hold on.
Yo, wait, hold it.
What? Excuse me?
This is season 4 now. You're out of here.
Old news.
What?
What is this?
The new kids are in town, and we're taking over this podcast.
Ejected.
Oh God, I'm surrounded by new people.
Holy crap, we have 6 people in a call? That is a new one.
It's clearly too many hosts, so somebody has to go.
It's time for a showdown.
There's no space in this call for the 6 of us. Someone has to go. Someone's imposter. Okay, no. I just. So yeah, it turns out, well, Josh, it seems we have some people applying for the How Long to Beat podcast host job over here.
Yeah.
We actually thought no one would answer our calls, so we were about to just continue the prior season. But here we are. So Josh, do you want to take it away?
I guess. I'm going to ask a very me question. So if we have 4 new hosts for season 4. So why don't we just start off, if you guys want to introduce yourself one at a time and just give us a quick, hi, my name is, and how we would find you on How Long to Beat.
So my name is Diallo. You can find me on How Long to Beat as Electrofence, like Electro plus Elephants. It's from MapleStory. Or Electro/Yo Electro on other various places online.
Nice.
I'm Leah. You can find me as Boemu on How Long to Beat, and either Boemu or Baxio in other places.
Awesome.
My name is Matt. We have met before. I've been on this podcast as a guest previously. You can find me on How Long to Beat under the great username Cock, like the roach, or in other places as Matt Jerkhole.
All right, and I am yet another guest who is taking over the podcast, Frozen Roy, also known as Froy or Roy. I am Frozen Roy on How Long to Beat. Very easy to remember. Sometimes you'll see me as Ruki or Ruki Motomiya on the Discord or other websites, but usually I'll just be Frozen Roy.
Awesome. And I'm going to start off, sorry, Paula, I'm going to ask another question. I'm going to ask a gaming question where I want to know, basically Nintendo or PC?
I love how it's just Nintendo or PC and there's no PlayStation or Xbox.
Yeah, they're the only options. This is how we find out more about your soul.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's obvious I'm definitely on the PC. Frick Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo also gets you Tetris and Zelda, so I have to go Nintendo.
I think growing up, I definitely would have said Nintendo, but in recent years, I have shifted to be more PC.
Ooh.
I am very clearly Nintendo. Not only did I grow up on Nintendo consoles, but my PC is not exactly a gaming machine, and I have a Nintendo Switch. So,
50-50. That's fair.
Switch will get you really decent indie games too.
Yeah, it's like a split right there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So, okay, as a resident Otome player here, what is your opinion on Otome games? You may ask if you have any questions too.
Yeah, is everybody familiar with Otome games?
I don't think I've played one. Unless you count Hatoyo Boyfriend.
Hato Boyfriend.
Yeah, that's a Otome game.
Pretty sure Persona 3 Portable doesn't count because of the female protagonist, which means I haven't played many, but I do have some on my backlog. And I mean, I feel like, just like any dating sim, interesting stuff, probably should get a bit more visibility. Because not all Otome games are dating sims, but you know what I mean. It's like a common subgenre of Otome game.
Pretty much, yep.
I haven't played any yet, but I know Tokimeki Memorial is getting a Switch port next year, and I'm incredibly excited for that.
Oh, true!
I've been interested in that game ever since I saw Tim Rogers do the video essay on it.
Yeah. Nice.
Kind of like
Fuck
the OG Japanese dating sim.
The original Tokimeki Memorial, or like the original
Yes.
girls' side.
The original one.
Ooh, I didn't know it was getting a remake.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the hot
Breaking news.
Otome news.
Is it only on Nintendo though?
That is a very good question, good sir. I know it has like a DS version, and there's a English patch for the DS version, if I remember correctly. Or was it like?
I think the original is on the Turbo graphics.
Some weird
Yeah.
thing. I think.
Yeah, it's this PC engine. It doesn't say anything else beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
yeah.
TurboGraf 16.
See, Matt, there's another reason to come back to the Nintendo side. They got Tokimeki Memorial.
Come join us. We have cookies.
Oh my god.
We have cookies
And-
and edgy Pikmin.
Abby is ecstatic. He is so excited for this.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, choices.
Doesn't matter.
He tuned
Doesn't
out.
matter.
Perfect.
Okay, I have a fun one. Again, this is like for everyone to answer, but imagine you're the prime suspect of a murder. If the protagonist of the last game you played had to defend you in the courtroom, how would it go, and who would it be?
Fuck.
Well, the last game I was playing was Boomerang X. So violently, horribly wrong, I would assume.
Or violently right for you, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. I think technically, if we're just talking about the last game I played purely, I was playing Tetris in bed. So I'm pretty sure I entered the courtroom and it goes do 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 do.
Let's
do,
go.
do, do, do. You've been sentenced
Locks
to
the stand
life
up
in
courtroom.
prison.
Fuck yeah.
You might end up just like erasing the jury when they all sit down in a line.
Yes.
Oh, beautiful.
Is this how Thanos works? But if we want to talk about the last game I played with characters, I was
The
playing.
T-Block is a character to me.
Yeah, I was playing Live Alive's Far Future scenario, so I'd be defended by a small spherical robot with uncertain speaking capabilities. So I'm gonna say
Good
not
God.
well.
No.
The treacherous species would have a higher chance of getting you out of there.
Probably.
I mean, by violence, I guess, but yeah.
I'm gonna cheat a little for this one. This is not, I guess, the last game I played, but it's one of the more recent games that I played, and that's Ace Attorney Investigations, Miles Edgeworth. I feel like if I had Miles Edgeworth defending me, I know he's usually a prosecutor, but I feel like, I want him on my legal team, as well as Francisca von Karma. I feel like with the two of them, I'm pretty set. I can get away with
It feels
anything.
like cheating.
Oh my god, yeah. Okay, the only one who is safe here is Diallo, so yeah.
The only thing is, if you did it, Edgeworth is coming for your ass.
I'll never tell.
My helpful friend in court would be the last game I played was Polaris Snowcross on the PlayStation 1, which is it's just a racing game with snowmobiles. There's a
You have
character in
getaway
that game.
car.
Yeah.
I guess. I was thinking there's a character in the game. The name of it is Shut with two T's, SHUTT. And I'm thinking he's just gonna show up and make everybody shut up. So I'm banking on that being the strategy. And then I guess we can just drive away. Maybe there's a chance for me.
Just make sure the courtroom is in a snow area.
Maybe they just shut the courtroom down.
Well, then there's a different case they have to look into.
All right. I would like to know more about you guys kind of in How Long to Beat, a bit more less gamey kind of focused. But, how long have you guys been on How Long to Beat? And what do you use it for the most? Like, social stuff, or like backlogging, or just tracking your games, that sort of stuff? Or even the forum itself, or yeah.
I joined 4 years ago, but I first started using the website before then is the thing.
Yeah.
Because what happened is that I was doing a Leaf Gleam Nuzlocke, and I just wanted to record the time I had been playing it. Or I don't even know if I wanted to record the time per se. I think I was just kind of looking stuff up because I was looking for a website to record, just having been it. And I found this website. I'm like, oh, I could record my in-game time. And then I did that. I mean, technically, probably what I use it the most for is just tracking things. But I do try to have some activity on the forums. I vote in the game of the month and all that. But, just because I do enough of my backlog sorting and stuff by volume, that's probably the most. Even if I do probably use backlogged for that a bit more than How Long to Beat.
Mentioning a competitor site in this interview?
How dare erase that bit from the recording.
Oh my good Christian podcast. Sorry, I couldn't.
One of the banned words was mentioned. Oh, cool.
I think I've been on since, according to the site, it says 7 years, but that's about to be a lie because apparently I joined November 26th. So it's about to be 8 years that I've been on the site, and I don't remember what particularly I was looking for initially, but I did like being able to track my backlog and also knowing exactly how much time I was going to be spending on the next game on my backlog. So it's done me a world of good because I have 280 beat, and I think maybe when I joined there was 20. So
damn, nice.
I have done quite a lot with this website. I'm more active on the Discord than I am in forums, but I've been trying to work into the forums a little bit more lately. But yeah, and I also use it mainly to check realistically how many games I could beat in a year. I like to make collections and just decide, these are the next games I want to beat, and then it'll just tally for me exactly how long that's going to be, and I'll be like, okay, that seems reasonable in a year. Let's put those for my goals in the next year or so. So I failed this year, but next year it's always another new year.
I mean, as long as you beat some of them, it's about the journey, not the finish. Sometimes.
True.
Sometimes it is a never-ending journey, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've been on How Long to Beat since April 2020, so also a bit over 4 years. I've really only I came to How Long to Beat because I was looking for a video game version of Letterboxd, which is a movie tracking site. I wanted to use How Long to Beat to track my gaming. The whole beating time aspect was just like a bonus that I use a lot these days.
Makes sense.
And I signed up with the horrible name of Cock. My go-to username online is Cockroach, and when I signed up for How Long to Beat, I thought it was like a tee-hee funny idea to try if they let me to use like half of that word, and they did. They did not give a hoot about it. So I'm still rocking that username. I was never expecting to interact with anybody in that on that website, and only found out like months later that there's even a forum and a Discord, and now I'm like the proud number 2 on the Discord activity leaderboard. And yeah, I'm the roach infesting this community.
Are you bringing me 6 into this?
No, do not mention that horrible creature, that horrible Discord bot.
I hate Me6 with a passion.
Yeah, Me6 sucks.
What did Me6 do to you?
Talking about tacos.
Yes.
This is let's not talk about Me6.
Anyway,
Discord bot.
So, yeah, for me, I joined How Long to Beat in 2019. So I've been using the site for about 5 years now. Primarily is it for tracking game completions that I've done, as well as figuring out how long to beat games. Shocker. I only discovered the social aspects of the forum and the community in the Discord a couple of weeks ago. So I'm kind of new to the more community aspects of the site, but I'm looking forward to participating in those more. I want to join in with the games of the month. So yeah, if you see me like on the forums or on the Discord, say hi. I'm friendly.
Awesome. And we've got
Yeah.
Itchmas coming up, or whenever this comes out, maybe it's already been. I don't know, but that's something to take part in. Definitely, that's a good time.
For sure.
Avatar's making sure to get that smooth plug in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already almost December. Holy crap!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
At time of recording.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear.
Yeah, that's it from me. Paula, do you have anything else?
Okay. This is another what if, but if you were transported to the world of your favorite game, for how long would you be able to survive?
Good lord.
Do.
Yeah, does Tetris count? I would just live in Russia, I guess. I think.
I mean, it would be Hyrule
Shit.
for me, and it depends on which Hyrule I get. If it's Wind Waker, I'm dead because I can't swim.
Well, it would probably be a Link to the Past, right?
Probably. I can hide out in a well pretty easily.
Probably would just depend if Ganon around.
Yeah.
At the very least, if you stay at the village, at Kakariko village, you shouldn't be too troubled, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or in the woods. I'd be lost, but hey.
For me, my favorite game is Summon Night Swordcraft Story, at least at present. And I mean, if you transport me into the main city area, I mean, it's pretty safe outside of a very clearly marked danger area that I would just not venture into. You know what I mean?
Smart.
I feel like I would probably have to adjust to the fact that what jobs would be available would be very different and find a way to live in that regard, but I probably wouldn't be in any imminent danger. So I'd probably be fine.
This is a tough question for me because I have to decide what my favorite game is. There's a couple that I have in mind. No. I mean, there's so many good games to choose from, right? There's one game that I think is my favorite game, but I'll be talking about that a little bit later. So I'm gonna omit that one so I can talk about a different game instead, which is another contender for my favorite game, Hollow Knight. I would not last very long in the Hollow Knight universe. It's hostile to begin with. There's a lot of things trying to kill you, and then I am terrified of bugs. So even if they weren't trying to attack me, just witnessing them, I'd be like, nope. I would just elect to pass away immediately. So I give myself maybe 25 seconds.
I can relate to that. I am not good with some bugs, especially bees. Although, if you were human-sized, you might survive.
But even human size, I wouldn't want to be there. I almost even didn't play this game because there's so many bugs, but I'm glad that I forced myself to push through because I ended up loving it. But yeah,
well,
nice.
Speaking of bugs, my game would probably also be a bug game, not actually Tetris. So yeah, we joked about Tetris being my favorite game, and it is up there. But if we're talking about games with an actual world, then I would probably be living in Grounded, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kid style survival game that I am probably going to be talking about later in this episode as well. And I would probably not gonna live in that world for long because I actually like bugs. So I would probably get too close to a stink bug and just die, something like that. But it would be a glorious death.
We'd have the opposite problems.
Stinking way to go.
Yeah.
You'd meet a spider and be like, "Hey man, let's hang out." Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, or a praying mantis, like those in Hollow Knight too.
Or the most dreaded option, actually meeting a roach.
They don't exist in Grounded, unfortunately. So.
And if Matt were a roach, he would be pretty unkillable, like for unless it's like aging or something like that.
True. If I am actually a roach in that world, I might be actually living long, relatively. I would love that.
It's a transport to the world. It didn't say you couldn't turn into a roach at the same time.
I guess that's true, maybe. I am a roach at heart.
Beautiful.
You've heard of Braveheart, now we got Roach Heart.
Well then. Okay, so for each of you, what's your favorite console and why? It can be like any console Any generation.
Shit.
I would have to say PS2, just because I think that's the one that I spent the most time with. PS3 was kind of like in and out, and PS4 and 5 kind of meshed together. Nintendo and Super Nintendo were really good for me, but I feel like PS2 was like everything to me at the time. I played everything. I watched movies on there. I played music on there. So it was like the first like all-in-one console for me.
Oh.
Awesome.
Mine is pretty simple. It's the GameCube for purely nostalgic reasons. And also, I love the GameCube controller. Remains probably my favorite controller to this day.
Oh, it's so good.
It is good.
If only they just had a second Z-Bon.
I think I'm gonna go with handheld consoles. Being mainly a PC gamer, the actual home consoles, TV plugged-in home consoles didn't really mean much to me. But the Game Boy Advance was a platform that I have spent a ton of time with growing up, so that's probably my pick here.
For me, this is kind of a question I've thought about before, and there's a lot of possible answers, especially because it's a combination of best or favorite. But if I'm going with favorite, it's probably going to be between like the Switch, the GameCube, and the Game Boy Advance. And the thing with the GameCube is I really like JRPGs and stuff. GameCube doesn't have many of those, but I have a lot of fond gaming memories of that. N64 was really good, but there's just not enough games. I'd probably honestly have to go with the Game Boy Advance, though, if I was really picking them. I mean,
Copycat.
Hey, who's the one whose favorite game is on the Game Boy Advance? It's me.
I bet Tetris is on there. So
It's
I mean,
not.
Tetris is pretty much
You can play
everywhere.
Game Boy Tetris.
Yeah.
But I still have my old Game Boy Advance that has like a battery cover falling off, and I've still played it even like nowadays. Honestly, it just has a really good library. It has a lot of great 16-bit games. If you dig deep into it, there are a lot of hidden gems, and yet there's also a lot of like major games on it. It was inventive. You got Wario Land stuff. They didn't just put a bunch of new Mario games on there. They had like the
True.
remakes, but they focused on a
That's
lot of other
fair.
stuff. Fire Emblem came over, and I've really come to appreciate Fire Emblem 7. It's one of the most easy to emulate consoles, and that is
True.
definitely a plus, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's just really nice. So I'd probably go Game Boy Advance in the end. But it's really like PS2 is really good too, but I just never had a ton of PS2 games, so it's hard for me to say it's my favorite, even if it might be the best.
Yeah, I feel the same actually about PS2.
Well, since we are in a website made for backlogs and stuff, it is time to air out some dirty laundry here. We don't judge. We don't judge here. You're in the safe space, so how long would it take you to beat your current backlog?
So I checked this earlier, and assuming I'm not missing any games on my backlog, and assuming I don't add any more or anything, it would take approximately 4.3 years
Oh, like playing continuously or?
to beat every game on my backlog with the how long to beat average times.
Oh,
You
okay.
said 4.3 years.
4.3 years.
I believe in
I
you.
think I have maybe a similar answer. So I play games very slowly. I'm the type of person who talks like every NPC. So my game completion time, I look at the time on how long to beat, and I multiply it by like maybe 1.5 or times 2 or something.
I can relate to that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty confident that based on that rate, it would take me maybe about 4.3 lifetimes to get through my backlog.
That sounds about right.
The site is telling me it'll take me 82 days and 12 hours. Because I think my backlog is the shortest out of everyone's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe
Perfectly
so.
reasonable.
Yeah.
My backlog is a Svelte 2502. It looks like.
Well, I would also add, as a sub question, is your backlog full of games you own and have in your library, or is it just like a wish list of sorts?
My backlog is all games I currently have access to.
Yeah, same.
Jesus.
Mine is games that I own. I put games that are on my wish list in the custom tab.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to
I
hear, because
just
that's what I do as well. But I know some people just throw everything on their backlog anyway. And so I was just wondering.
I keep my wish list on the forbidden second website, and I don't have a custom tag on how long to beat.
I haven't told my time yet. It would take me
Yeah.
352 days, so I could crank them out in a year. But like really, like who
In
here
your sleep
actually
time,
wants to
yeah.
beat their backlog? For me, it's just like the library
Yes.
that I have access to, and that's the joy of it. It's not a
Yes.
task that I want to tick off.
That is exactly how I feel.
Initially,
I see it more
I
as a
had
wide variety of options.
Yeah. Initially, I had skipped over the PS3 era of games, and I wanted to get to those before all their servers went down. So it was kind of like a rush to get through that backlog of like those era games and the DS games that were going to be like taken off the shop that I wanted to buy. So it was like get through all of those, but now I've like got back to like current time. So I'm like, okay, I think we're good taking things leisurely from now on. So currently, yeah, it'll take me much longer to get through these games.
That's true. That's true.
Paula, what's your time?
Oh, my time here is well, let me check if it's like I think it's with 100%.
You can't be in the dark on yours too, Abatage, if you're going to ask her.
I think mine's about the same as yours, Roy. It's about 4.3 years or something.
Good God. So many
I looked
games.
my official time.
Go on, sorry.
No, my official time I just looked is 104 days, but that's it doesn't include games that I've gotten for free. It's just like, and it's missing a lot of games that I purchased, so it's not a fully complete backlog. So that's a very, 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 very conservative estimate.
One notable omission from my backlog is that huge itch bundle that I think a few people picked up a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Oh,
That was like a couple of thousand games for Black Lives Matter or something like that. And
yeah,
I haven't added those because I don't even know what's in that collection, to be honest.
yeah, I have the Ukraine bundle, and I'm in a similar boat
that one
there.
too.
Yeah. Mine, to be specific, is 1,574 days, 8 hours.
Oh, we might be very close then, because mine is.
We're not so different, you and I.
Mine's 1,541 days and 16 hours.
Well, you gotta get on my level.
Yeah.
Nope.
And that's 2,830 games.
Nice.
okay, I got it. So my current time to beat all is 758 days and 18 hours, and that's without considering, and that's considering it's the average time to beat at 100%. But also you have to consider that about 35 games in my backlog did not have times for this category.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true, actually. I have, probably, 2 whole pages of games without time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, loads of my games don't have times at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, about 2 years-ish.
Yeah, long time.
A little bit like 2 years and something, 2 months, I don't know.
So we just keep this podcast going about 5 years, and we'll completely finish our backlogs, right, guys?
Yeah.
Because no
That's the
other
plan.
games that interest us are gonna get released, or we don't do Steam sales or anything like that.
The backlog doesn't grow.
Oh gosh, there's one coming up, isn't there?
We're not gonna take any breaks or replay games.
Don't even get me started on replaying games. Like, how often do you replay games anyway?
Oh, that's a good question, actually.
Not very. I like new
I mean-
things.
I mean, technically, every time you play Tetris, you're replaying it.
But in a different flavor.
Not true, actually. It is technically a different Tetris. So this is a bit of a difficult question for me because I feel like I replayed games a lot more until about 5 years ago, where I kind of got situated in my house and doing some stuff because of COVID. I feel like ever since then, I've been really trying to do my best to. I don't know. I'm interested in trying a lot of new games, especially because I got a computer that can run some more, and I got a Switch. I've been trying to get more new experiences. I feel like every year I replay at least a few games. Like, I replayed Fire Emblem 7 about twice this year, probably. But I play more new games than I replay old games at this point in time. And that's not counting persistent games, like if I play like a game of Hearthstone or whatever.
For me, it's pretty. I don't really replay games that frequently. I think I can probably count the number of games I've replayed on both hands. And I think that the ones that I do replay end up being like shorter games. That being said, I do kind of want to go back and start doing replays of some of the longer games that have been favorite games that I've played. I set like gaming resolutions every year, and since last year, I've made an effort to try to replay at least one game a year. So for the past 2 years, I've been making a more conscious effort to replay some games. But yeah, it's not something that I do frequently. And when I do it, I will often like play it. If I played it like in English the first time, I'll play it in Japanese or vice versa.
Yeah, I like doing stuff like when I'm replaying Yoshi's Island, I'm playing the GBA version. Slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I do want to replay the GTA trilogy. And I want to go back to the Last of Us remakes or remasters. So that's on my list for like the next 2 years, but I don't tend to go back to unless it's like one of the ones that's on the Nintendo emulator. Well, I'll just pop in and play like a few minutes or whatever and then just switch to something else. Like I don't think I've fully replayed a game except for Indigo Prophecy, and that went really badly because I used to love that game and it did not age well at all.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
So that has given me pause on replaying other games that I love, but I will eventually go back to them.
I mean, at the same time, gain a different perspective, even if it's not a good perspective, on games you've played can be interesting.
That's fair.
Oh, and I replay probably a Pokemon game or like a different version of a Pokemon game like once a year because I like to do like a challenge run or whatever. So there's that.
Pokemon
too.
is my big exception to the rule. I've replayed Pokemon a lot, but besides that,
I mean, it's so replayable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like especially if you like do challenge runs like Nuzlocke or randomizers or weird shit like that.
I've been playing I feel like Nuzlocke is like my default for a lot of games now. I was actually doing Fire Emblem randomizers with friends. I gotta get them back on it.
Beautiful.
Nice. Well, Paula, shall we get out of here and leave it to these newbies?
Hey, we have a question for you.
Oh shit.
Do we pass?
Oh yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
I mean, yeah, I can go back to bed. So yes.
There we go.
Perfect. Let's tuck him in before he changes his mind.
Oh my god.
What do you reckon, Paula?
Well, at the very least, I think we've left the podcast in good enough hands here.
Absolutely.
A lot of hands.
Yeah.
A lot of hands.
About eight of them, I'd say.
And a couple of winks there. Yeah.
I know
True.
Eric and Paul will agree that I am very excited to see what season 4 brings and what you guys do with it. So best wishes, and you know, I have 100% faith in all of you. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
Dude, wait. This
you.
time we're in the listening side of things. This is gonna be exciting.
I know. It's just going to come out and we can listen to it.
And we don't have to do work. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for trusting us with it. We're looking forward to bringing it.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the big things that is, it just in regards to us trusting you or anything, it's the community's podcast. So, you know, whatever you guys want to make of it is up to you guys. It's got nothing to do with us or what anyone's done before. It's literally just something from the community for the community. So, you know, thanks to you guys for putting in the effort to keep it going.
We are dead set
Yeah.
on ruining that legacy. Don't worry about it.
I don't.
Speed run to destruction.
I know. Well, at the very least, that's why we have like the seasons separated by, by seasons on Spotify and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, then we know where
Yeah.
the end started.
The beginning of the end. But anyways, again, thank you guys so much for picking up where we left off. I was genuinely scared like this podcast would like not happen for the foreseeable future. So
Yeah.
having a bunch of people stepping up and taking care of everything. First of all, it brings me joy because the podcast is something I hold dear to my heart. I recorded like 4.5 years or so for
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah.
But also because I like to see the community doing stuff in Howland to Beat.
Yeah. We'll keep that torch lit as long as we can, I would say.
And we will honor it.
Many Pikmin shall be sacrificed at the altar.
Now, Shoo, get out of here. We have to
Yeah.
record an episode.
Okay.
Have fun.
Have fun there. Tell me how it goes in the next few months.
If we come crawling back for help, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Josh, remember those faces? They all have light in their eyes right now.
If my door is closed, don't open it.
Yeah.
No, you'll be good. Have a good one, guys. Enjoy the podcast and can't wait to hear what you've got.
See ya.
Yeah, definitely. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Are we gonna do it now? We're ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Hello and welcome back to the How Long to Beat podcast. We are now in season 4 with us fresh new hosts. My name is Matt. I'm with Diallo,
Hello, fellow gamers.
Leah,
Hello.
and Roy.
Hey, what's up?
As is tradition on this podcast, we will be talking about the games that we've beaten, retired, and are playing. But this being the first episode with us fresh new faces, or voices rather, we will also be doing a introductory segment where we are gonna talk about some games that have shaped or influenced us as gamers in some way or another.
And before we get started, I just wanted to shout out is how difficult this task was. At first I was excited because I was like, oh,
Yeah.
4 games to represent our gaming taste. That'll just be like a fun way for people to get to know us. But then trying to narrow it down to just 4 games felt a little bit like Sophie's Choice. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so many good games out there. My baby, I can't not include this one. So this is definitely a thought exercise, but I'm excited to hear what we have to say.
It was a very interesting one. For me, it was really easy to get the first 3 games going. And then there were like 5 games all vying for the last spot, and that took like the entire rest of the time to decide.
Yeah, basically. If there was 5 games, it would suddenly be a lot easier, but 4 was really hard to narrow it down.
Yeah, I think if it was 5, I probably would have not had nearly as much of an issue. But it's not 5, it's 4.
Them's the break.
Does anyone want to actually start?
We can go alphabetically. We could start with Diallo. Is that fair?
Okay, sure. All right. Well, I'll start us off with a game that has been discussed on this podcast a number of times before, so I felt like it'd be a good opening one. And it is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. I know that Rick, one of the previous podcast hosts, was a big fan of this game. And it just might be my favorite game. This game, I just love it so much. So how I discovered this game was through a recommendation from some friends. Typically, I was a little bit hesitant at first because the giant mech aesthetic is not sort of the aesthetic that I usually go for, but I heard so many good things about the game. I was like, you know what, let me give it a try and see what it's all about. And I am so glad that I did because it just completely blew my mind, shook me to my core in ways that no other game really has. So I played this game when I was between jobs. I had just left a job. I had a couple weeks before I started my new one, and I ended up playing this game like a full-time job. Over the span of 5 days, I played 40 hours because this game just does so many interesting things. I could not put it down. And I know that Rick has mentioned this before, but it's a hard game to talk about without spoiling because there's so many twists and turns in the game that pretty much everything is a spoiler. And I very firmly believe that it's a game where the less you know going into it, the better. So yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about this game, but I'll do my best to try to explain why I love it so much without seeing its praises one more time without sort of like going to spoiler territory. I think one thing that this game really made me realize is that I really appreciate in media when you're sort of thrown into the deep, be it a video game or like a book, just any sort of media, where it throws you into the deep end of the narrative, and you as the viewer or the player are trying to figure out what's going on. I just love that sort of like the experience of having to sort of piece together yourself, like all the puzzles in the universe that are happening. And I think it works really well because the characters are also sort of trying to figure out what's going on. And I just thought that was really fun, interesting experience. I think it's also really cool how they've got 13 different stories intertwining. I've never had a game told from that many perspectives before. And I think it's really cool how it's an unusual marriage between two genres. So the majority of the gameplay is kind of like adventure game, or some people describe it as a visual novel style game. But you also have these RTS battle sections, which and you wouldn't expect them to really go together, but for some reason they've just meshed them together in like a really flawless way. And I have so much love for this game. I could talk about it ad nauseum, but it's the experience that I had playing this game. I've never felt just so shaken and so moved by a game before, and I'm looking forward to the next time I have an experience that sort of feels as transformative to me as 13 Sentinels was. But that's the first pick for me.
I would say, like, I've never played this game before, but everyone I know who's played this game says it's amazing.
It's so good. And again, it's really hard to explain just why it's so good, because it's hard to talk about it, but just trust me, it's really good.
It's kind of poetic to have this spotlight on this game that was so well discussed in previous seasons through Rick. I always remember him talking about that all the time as well. I like that that shows up here, yeah.
Yeah, it felt appropriate.
It's the through line between all the hosts.
Yes.
All right, I can go next. My first one is The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I want to say, through my very limited memory of this time period in my life, I think that was the first game that I beat on my own without my father or like anybody helping me. It was just kind of like one of the first things I had on the Super Nintendo, and I just was like, I knew we had played the first Zelda, and I believe Adventures of Link on the NES, but that was kind of like a community thing. My cousins were there, my dad was like making us a map and trying to figure things out, and we were, reading, the GamePro magazines and Nintendo magazines and trying to figure out. And this one, I was just like completely on my own, and just, and it was kind of just like, oh, that was the first time that I really understood, like, you can beat a game, there's a storyline to a game, and it's not just, like in an arcade play until it's game over, and that, like, there's actual games with storylines and stuff. And that was, like, maybe the first one that I was like, oh, I want to see the credits for every single game that I own. So that really, like, if there's anything that got me to this site, it's probably, it's probably that game for me. And it's still probably my favorite of the Zelda games. It's probably my favorite of the Zelda games. Even the map still to this day, like, I can just jump in. Like, the most recent Zelda and the actual sequel to this that was A Link Between Worlds, that map, I could just walk around easily and just... I knew where everything was, and I knew how to get there and which time warp zone was going to take me to where or whatever. So that's my first pick.
Love that.
I mean, it's a classic. I started that up about 2 years ago myself. About halfway through it. It's pretty good, I would say.
Yeah.
I find it impressive that it's the first game you beat on your own. I've never beaten this as a kid. Not a single time.
I get TP'd as an adult even, so.
Yeah.
We've got to go back to the past to beat this.
Yeah, I gotta play it. I know it's on the emulator for Nintendo Online. Every once in a while I'll like start it up and just get through the castle and then be like, okay, I'm done with this now. But like I really have to go back and I just want to get up to the sword, get the sword. That's it.
As you probably got such a good memory of it, you beat the castle, everything floods back.
Yeah. But yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Roy, how about your first?
You're next.
I'm
Yeah.
You're right. We're going alphabetically. I forgot. Oh my god.
Oh no.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. The alphabet's too difficult for this podcast.
It's how long to beat, not how long to spell.
That's right. Exactly.
Alphabetized.
Well, if I'm gonna stay in lane here and talk about a classic Nintendo title as well. I grew up with a Super Nintendo, and one of the games I've played the most was the original F-Zero game, which is, as we hopefully all know, a one of the original anti-grav racing games, a science fiction racing game with your little hovercrafts going around flat Mode 7 style race tracks. And it's just awesome. It has one of the best soundtracks of all time. It looks cool. It's just radical as heck. And I've mourned the quiet death of this franchise for years. But I guess it looks like it's kind of coming back in the recent 1 or 2 years, which is makes my little gamer heart jump and bump all over the place. The saddest gamer thing in my life is that a lot of younger people only know Captain Falcon as a Smash character and are not even familiar with the racing games. But I guess F-Zero 99, the recent like sort of re-release, kind of helped with that probably. So my pain is thankfully not as heavy anymore. But yeah, F-Zero has probably been hugely influential for me in terms of appreciating racing games in general, but also just being a huge fan still of this sort of anti-grav flavor of the genre. The hot take, I guess I prefer in the F-Zero franchise, I prefer the flat Mode 7 games over the actual 3D ones. I do believe Wipeout does the 3D anti-grav racing a bit better. But that might be a subject for another day. F-Zero on the SNES, maybe, I don't know. F-Zero on the SNES is probably a perfect racing game to me. I love it still today, as I did back then.
That's pretty cool, actually. That
it is.
The first Mode 7 racer, because I'm pretty sure, is that like the first Mode 7 game at all, actually? I
wouldn't be so sure about that. I could imagine Mario Kart being like earlier or whatever.
Oh, yeah. But that, it's still so good all these years later.
Also, the soundtrack is amazing.
Oh yeah.
God, it's so good.
Hey, if nothing else, I'm not one of the people who only found out Captain Falcon through Smash. But I did know about F-Zero. I only knew about F-Zero X at the time.
That's fine. That's fair. That's okay.
The Smash maps, I guess you would call them, are pretty fun also.
Oh yeah, the F-Zero maps.
They're annoying as hell when you fall off the map, but
yeah, they're cool.
They do get quite a few F-Zero maps.
What was that?
Sorry, I said they do have quite a lot of F-Zero stages in Smash, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't like that doesn't quench the desire.
Not racing on these maps.
Yeah. Sorry, Diallo, you wanted to say?
I will say that there are some games where because I was first introduced to the character via Smash, I've gone back and like played the actual game. So maybe there are people out there who only Falcon. Or I guess I haven't played it F-Zero game, so maybe I'm one of those people. But I knew of its existence. But yeah, maybe there are people out there who haven't played an F-Zero game yet, but because they know of Captain Falcon from Smash, people will be inspired to go and actually play it one day.
I
mean,
hope.
I would be surprised if that's part of why F-Zero 99 got pretty popular. Actually,
Maybe. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's a
hopefully.
difficult subject to me.
can't you unlock a broad demo, like a masterpiece of F-Zero? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Yeah, you can.
I ain't playing modern Nintendo.
Well, we'll just wait for the new F-Zero game.
Yeah, when there's actually a brand new F-Zero game, I actually will finally go on, modern Nintendo on the train. But until then, I'm not going
Launch
to be.
title for Switch 2.
You
Yeah,
heard us, Nintendo. F-Zero launch title. Get Matt in there.
Yeah, that would be the one thing to make me buy a fucking Nintendo console. Okay, I think we should move on. Roy, how about your first of 4 games?
All right. So my story for this one, which is a GBA action RPG game called Summon Night Swordcraft Story, Game Boy Advance. So I didn't find out about this game by myself, but there was a friend of mine who really liked this game on a forum we both were like visiting and role playing in and stuff like that. Luigi Boy 7, that was his username. But
Shout outs.
hey, shout out. You never know when they might listen.
Yeah.
But they talked to me about it. I don't even remember if I saw any screenshots because this was back in like 2006. You know what I mean? But I was really interested in what they talked about. Went and purchased it pretty quickly, and I didn't really purchase games very frequently because I was pretty poor. So I took a bit of a leap of faith on that. But this game, it hooked me, and it's really good. It's one of those games where, like, for many years, I kind of talked about in the sense of like, oh, I like it a lot, but maybe other people won't like it as much kind of thing. Because, you have those personal favorites that you like a lot more than everyone else. But some people like Dragon and How On to Be and other people have been playing on my recommendation, really liking it. So that's kind of changed my opinion and made me think maybe it's just a really good underappreciated game. But it's I don't know if anyone here has played any of the 2D Tales RPG games.
No.
Not 2D. I do want to play Tales of Fantasia at some point, but I haven't gotten around to it.
Well, this game plays a lot like those kind of games, anyway. So anybody who likes that's good. It has like a very neat, although basic crafting system with 5 different weapon types. You get different elemental abilities. They'll have different attributes and stats and stuff. It kind of opens up through the game, through time. You start with a little guardian spirit that's like a buddy, elemental casting, healing, 5 spells per battle. It's got like kind of a light political intrigue plus tournament style story, but the thing that always got me is that it has a very good aesthetic. That's kind of like an industrial steampunk vibe with like a cool base setting of this towering city suspended over water, and that always really got my brain cooking. And another thing is that this might be the game I had the most to talk about, so I'm going off. But
Sure.
this is also one of the first games I ever had where I kind of saw LGBT themes, because one of the guardian spirits you can have is bisexual, and if you play with the female main character, which I did, you're going to get dialogue relating to that. And there's even one character I believe is only attracted to you if you're a girl and they're a girl.
Ah.
So, that introduced that kind of themes to me. And just in general, it's been a very inspirational story. I'm a bit of an aspiring writer, and I've started / concepted writing very much based around the story for many years now, just because of the fact that really spoke to me back when I played it, kind of thing.
Dope. Yeah, clearly very influential on you.
Yeah. I'm going to say, try it out sometime. It's not that long. You might be disappointed, but hopefully you won't be.
Not that long. How long does it take to beat it?
I don't know. If only there was a website that would inform me.
Maybe someday.
Introducing our new sponsor at longthedeep.com.
No way.
If you're actually
Right.
wondering, the base game is about 14 hours. And it's about 22 hours if you do all the extra stuff.
Yeah, that's not too long for a JRPG.
It's not so bad, yeah.
Yeah, very reasonable. That's like my sweet spot for length for games these days. I feel around 20ish hours. Chef's kiss.
Yeah. It can be
Yeah.
nice when you want a game that's like meaty and not like a small indie game, but not like 100-hour thing where you have to really dedicate yourself.
Yeah.
I think
Alright,
it's
so-
back to Diallo, yeah.
Back to me. All right, for my next pick, I went with Pokemon Heart Gold / Soul Silver. So Pokemon is kind of like my video game origin story. Pokemon Blue on the Game Boy Color was one of the very first video games I ever played. Had it not been for Pokemon, I might not be the gamer that I am today. Remember, I fell for it hard. I was so obsessed with it as a kid at one point. My mom actually had to ban me from talking about Pokemon for a day. She's like, all right, y'all need to go a full day without talking about Pokemon. But I was like, but it's all I think about. She's like, yes, I know, that's the problem.
Oh my god.
That's amazing.
Oh,
it was
that's great.
very it was very much love at first sight for me. Just the memories of traversing all of Kanto, just going on that grand adventure as a child. I was mentioning previously, I'm still sort of like chasing the high that I felt after playing 13 Sentinels, and that goes for Pokemon Blue as well. It's like if I were to try to go back and if I could find a video game that makes me feel the way that I felt when playing Pokemon, those OG Pokemon games, I would give anything for that. Like when I hear the music for those games to this day, I get a little bit like teary-eyed. It just takes you right back. But yeah, that being said, the reason that I chose Heart Gold and Soul Silver as my pick and not Blue version is that it's for a couple of reasons. Number one is that I love the Johto games because you get 2 regions for the price of 1. You get to go through Kanto and then Johto. You get 16 gym leaders. Like what? Your fave could never. And then also 4th gen is when I started to I guess learn more about the competitive side about Pokemon. So it's when I first started looking into EV training and stuff, and breeding for IVs, coming up with competitive movesets. So those games will always have a special place in my heart for that reason. And then also one thing that I really, really like about Heart Gold and Soul Silver is how you have your the first Pokemon in your party, their sprite follows you around in the overworld, so you can see your little companion.
Yeah.
Yes,
Walking
it's
behind
so
you.
cute.
I wish more of the Pokemon games would do that.
Same.
So yeah, that's
Everybody
why
wants
Pokemon Heart
that.
Gold is one of the favorite ones that I've played. As I was putting together my list of 4 games, I had a couple doubts about whether I wanted to actually include Pokemon or not, because first off, I feel like saying that you like Pokemon is kind of like, it doesn't really tell you that much about you. It's kind of an uncontroversial pick. It's a little
Oh,
little
you
bit
like
basic.
Pokemon.
Right. And then also, some of the newer games have, my enthusiasm for the series has been waning a little bit for some of the more recent generations. Like, I think like Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet did not fully live up to my expectations. So I had a couple doubts about, do I actually include Pokemon or not? But then I realized I have about half a dozen Pokemon plushies sitting next to me right now. I have my yassified Regirock costume that I had for Halloween. I've been playing
hell
Pokemon
yeah.
TCG Pocket on my phone nonstop. I was like, okay, whether I like it or not, I am a Pokemon. My avatar on Discord right now is Quaxley. Like whether I like it or not, I'm a Pokemon fanboy, I guess. So I'm in too deep. I can't talk about my origin as a gamer and not mention Pokemon. So that's why it's the number 2 spot on my list. Or I guess these aren't ranked, I guess, but that's why it's my second pick.
My man. Gold and
Sorry?
Silver. I said my man because I was like, yo, cool.
Yeah.
But Gold and Silver are actually the first Pokemon games I ever got. So I am all in on Johto being an excellent region, that's for sure.
Right.
Yes. I agree. But Gen 2 is my favorite. I love Johto.
Gen
2 is
2's
great.
got to be up there. I do rather like Gen 3.
Yeah,
Gen 3 is another
very
favorite
good.
for me.
Yeah.
I think one thing is that while Gen 3 is when I got into competitive Pokemon. So that's my little bit there. But man, that's cool. You have so many plushies. Okay, what's your favorite Pokemon plushie?
Ooh, okay.
Oh my god.
I'll bring it up, which is useless for
Yeah.
for a visual medium, but I have this giant Quaxley. I bought it for myself before I left Japan. I was like, it's going to be a hassle to pack. But if I don't buy it, I will never forgive myself for not having this giant, beautiful duck. I love him so much. I've got big Quaxley and I have a little baby Quaxley as well.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
I like it. It's worth the packing.
I agree. I'm glad I did it.
All right, let's move on to Leah.
Yeah, my next pick is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I picked this one specifically because I haven't played Vice City, but Grand Theft Auto 3 was like the first open world game that I played, and that was towards the end of like when we were getting like all those magazines and stuff, and like rumors of like what cheat codes were what or whatever. And I remember like one of them was like, I think you were able to like, I even forgot what it was, but it was like, if you 100% the game, you get this. So I went through and I did like everything in that game.
God.
But then when San Andreas came out, that just expanded on it even more, because you could like feed him, you could clothe him, you could do his hairstyle and everything. And it was like all the RPG elements that I had heard about in other games, plus the open world, plus like it didn't have like in 3 and then also Vice City, when you would go between the different islands or different parts of the city, there would be that loading screen because they had to like get everything prepared for you.
Yeah.
But they didn't have that in this one because it was such a large world that they learned how to like load in. So that was like, it's actually open world. There's nothing like cutting you off from anything. And like, that was like the first time before I got my driver's license where like, if I wanted to like just like my first cozy game, like what a cozy game to have. But like anytime I wanted to just go driving, I would just go drive into like the countryside and do whatever, and go get a yacht or whatever, helicopter, and I would just spend like 3 hours, 4 hours in that game. It was just like amazing. The storyline is great. The soundtrack was amazing. Like to this day, I don't think there's been a better Grand Theft Auto. So, and I'm a big Rockstar person, but I don't think that anything has topped that storyline. So that's
I was about to ask, how does it compare to like GTA 5? Where did it fall off?
5 was terrible, honestly.
Oh.
I didn't like 5 at all.
Isn't 5 a bit controversial with like the long-term, more hardcore GTA fans?
I guess so. I mean, I think 4 was trying really hard to get to where they thought 5 was going to be. And 5, to me, it kind of fell flat with their storylines. Like, I didn't really connect to the characters, and I didn't really care about why they were doing what they were doing. Whereas San Andreas, it was just like, this is my crew, and we are going to do this till the end. So,
hell yeah.
Like, it was like going to that final mission is the same thing. Like, that ties into the way I feel about like Red Dead. Like once you have all this history with this character where like you're going into that final mission and you're like, we're riding or dying right now. And that was the last game I think for Grand Theft Auto where I felt that. Like 4 was kind of like, if you die after this, whatever. But like San Andreas was just like, this is us. So that was the last GTA where I felt that. So yeah. I still bring that up whenever we mention, like, people ask me story-wise, like, what are like my favorite games. I'm like, San Andreas was like pivotal moment in game storytelling for me, where I was just like, what just happened? What is going on? Why is this happening to me? And like being like so upset about it, and like crying at certain points and laughing, and going through the full range of emotions. Love that game.
That is quite the sell, I gotta say.
Really quite a sell.
Yeah. I still haven't played a GTA game, but that makes me want to play it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've actually also never played a GTA game. Because,
I've never finished one.
No, I never played one even. Because my mom was definitely the type to not buy GTA until, I was an adult. And around that time,
that's the funny thing. My dad,
all kinds of stuff.
My dad got me GTA 3. I was under 8. I think I was like 15 maybe when he got it for me for my birthday. But it's funny that birthday he got me what became my favorite movie, and GTA, which changed how I looked at gaming. So it was like a very pivotal birthday for me. But
nice.
So it's like a cool dad.
I remember like being hesitant about playing it because I had heard that it was like so violent, and I was like, I don't know if this is gonna go well in my house. But it ended up being like no, this is the gaming path that I'm going on, I guess.
Right.
But I'm very well-rounded, as you'll
I
see.
mean, hey, as long as it works out.
Yeah. I have no criminal record, so in real life, everything is fictional.
Not yet, at least.
Sure.
Who knows what the future holds?
Well,
I will keep on dreaming.
Don't let your dreams be memes.
Oh my god. Well, I can continue with another open world game because I got one on my list as well. Yeah. I got Grounded on my list. The bug-sized survival game that came out a couple of years ago. I don't know, like 3 or 4 years ago. Grounded is Grounded was a genuine situation for me where a dream game concept became real, and wholeheartedly like hit all the marks to not disappoint. I grew up loving stories about bugs and just in general exploring the world from that point of view. I was, among many things, a fan of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movies because I like
yes.
to experience that
Yes.
world.
Let's go.
And many other movies and whatnot in that vein that I watched as a kid. So I was like prone to be all over this. And Grounded came up, which is literally a survival game based on the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids premise, where you are a shrunken kid in a big old backyard and just have to figure out how to survive with all these freakazoid crawlies running around, and have basically full freedom in how you explore the different parts of this backyard, which is so well designed with so much interesting variety as well. So many cool bugs. I love bugs. And it really was a thing of, I usually don't care about the survival game genre with its typical like crafting systems and all of that stuff. I usually am not at all a fan of that, but the theme was so strong that it made it all work for me, which was really like a once in a lifetime situation in a way. I played hours of it when it was still in like the early alpha version. I played even more hours when it was actually finally released. I beat the whole game in co-op with a very close friend of mine, and it's gonna be forever in my memory as one of the most exciting and satisfying like gaming experiences of all time. I would kill. Speaking of like criminal records, I would kill for another one.
And this really is going to be the How Long in Prison podcast.
Yeah. I do everything for Grounded. Now this game just fucking rules. There's nothing better than this.
Now, when you say that you would want another one, do you want something in the same? I know nothing about the storyline in this, but do you want like the same characters in the same area, or would you prefer like a different location, different set of characters?
In general, I would take whatever I can. But like what I really want is the same concept or a similar concept in different environments. Even if it's just a different kind of backyard, that would be cool. But you could even like expand it to completely different locations. Or even, I was always hoping they would add it, but they didn't do it yet. This kind of game where you can actually go into a house and explore that environment. Grounded has no cockroaches, and I was always hoping they would have you go like into a giant kitchen and then I don't know, fight some weird cockroaches. Because for those who don't know, I'm a weirdo who likes roaches.
Well, I mean, you can't romance them since you're playing a kid, so it's got to be fight.
Romancing roaches. That has such a good ring to it. That'll be the next Hot to boyfriend found dead. It's romancing roaches from now on.
I would be all over that. Holy fuck. That's another dream game come true for me there. Yeah, that was my second game.
I mean, sounds like one that's left a really big impact on you. That's for sure.
Oh, it should it.
I guess that makes me next, and now I'm debating which one to talk about because I have 2 follow-ups to 2 different things here.
I see one in your list that also has little small creatures running around, so maybe that's
Exactly.
a bit,
And then the other one was gonna fall off GTA because it was the first M-rated game I ever played. But you know what? We'll go with Pikmin 2 next. Sure. We'll
Yeah.
follow up tiny with even tinier.
Hell yeah.
So Pikmin 2 is interesting. You know, Pikmin, I haven't beaten every Pikmin game quite yet, although I don't own all of them because hey, Pikmin exists. I own all the ones that matter. But
Main story.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Pikmin basically only puts out really good games. But of the ones I've played far enough to say anything about, Pikmin 2 is definitely my favorite. I had this quite a bit when I was young, and I think one of the things I like about Pikmin 2 compared to the first one is that the first one has the time limit, more tension, but the second one has a lot more variety to it. There's a lot more different dungeons, the different Pikmin abilities allow different types of puzzle solving, much wider variety of enemies, for example. Granted, I will say, everybody says Pikmin 2 is the harder game. I actually think Pikmin 2 is the easier game, once you understand that purple Pikmin are broken as fuck. But this game is also here for a bit of a different and interesting reason, which is that one of the first, like, true internet experiences I had that wasn't like just doing homework kind of thing, you know, was on the Pikmin 2 GameFAQs forums, because I loved Pikmin 2 so much. That was one of the first GameFAQs forums I started out at. And I talked about how I did like forum role-playing and stuff. Well, the place that first started was on the Pikmin 2 GameFAQs forums with edgy Pikmin roleplay. As one does.
Edgy Pikmin roleplay, come on.
You gotta be... I'm telling you, I was looking up Pikmin on fanfiction.net.
Oh
Okay?
no!
The very heavy alomorphic out there.
Did he lose Roy?
Did we lose
Did you
Roy?
die? Defending his fan fiction.
I need to hear about this Pikmin Dark RP shit. That's wild.
That's the great thing about the internet, though. Like, you can niche as far down as you think and still not be the wildest thing you would have thought of.
Yeah.
Are you back?
Oh, okay, yes.
Too cringy.
Too much
cringy?
cringe.
I had to restart my iPad.
I want to censor your Pikmin fanfiction escapades.
Pikmin 2 will not be silenced. We will not go silently into the night and get eaten by blowboars.
Oh my god. Alright, speak your truth.
Alright, so anyway, back to my Pikmin 2, going from the role-playing. So, from Pikmin 2 and the Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door GameFAQ forums, what happened is Super
Nice.
Paper Mario
Nice.
came out, and I don't know if anyone knows this, there was an actual website called digibutter.ner, just like the joke from in that game.
Oh.
And from all that, I found that website, which basically in the end is how I end up, if you trace everything back, finding basically every friend group I am in now.
Nice.
So, even outside of the fact that Pikmin 2 is a really, really good game, and I mean really good, that I really love, it also kind of started a lot of my internet web life in a way, so it's very influential outside of the game itself, basically.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say,
Yeah.
Pikmin 2 is the only Pikmin game, again, not counting Hey Pikmin, but it's the only, I guess, number Pikmin game that I have yet to beat. And you mentioned the time limit. I feel like the lack of the time limit, I needed that sense of urgency. But I do want to go back and finish it eventually, but I just haven't gotten around to beating it yet.
I highly recommend it because I know the caves are controversial among Pikmin fans.
I'm
really
not a
like
cave
them.
fan.
No, I'm a cave fan. They're puzzle boxes.
I think my issue with the caves, I didn't realize that you could go to the next level. I thought you had to walk all your Pikmin to the hole to the next level. And so there were some stages where like I would try to get my Pikmin all the way across and they would just like fall into water or lava and stuff and like die. And then I would end up with like bringing 2 to the next stage with me. And then I realized I could just send Olimar there and the Pikmin will follow automatically. But had I known that going into it, I probably would have had a lot less frustration and not have dropped it as quickly. But yeah, I'll give it another try at some point.
Definitely recommend it. That definitely would help if you once you realize that.
Plus, now that it's on Switch,
it is on Switch. Every Pikmin game except Hey Pikmin is on Switch.
They're all on my wish list for Switch.
You might say it's the Pick Machine.
I'm not sure that I would say that, but I applaud your effort.
One last thing I want to say about caves is something that's really cool. If you like music stuff, is that Pikmin 2, in addition to the randomly generated caves, actually has semi-randomly generated music for the caves.
Interesting.
It basically it has a selection of different instrumental types, and then it mashes them together with different lengths, tempos, and so on to create the sound for each cave. So actually, the music is never quite the same.
That's really cool. Oh, okay. I guess we're back to B now.
Yeah, I'd say so. There's only so much Pikmin 2 one person can take.
Yeah, clearly.
All right. The next game that I picked, which I feel is pretty representative of my taste in video games, I went with We Heart Katamari, or We Love Katamari. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. I'll say We Love Katamari. It seems like more of an English sentence.
Greater than 3 Katamari.
we less than 3. It's actually supposed to be like a heart, but I didn't put the emoji in the document. I just did less than 3. But yeah, the Katamari series is actually, like, I knew of it growing up, but I never got to play it growing up because I didn't have a PlayStation. So I've only started playing these games as adults, but I feel like they really represent a lot that I like in video games in that they're just so... Boys? Oh, balls.
Balls. Sure.
We got Pokeballs, we got Katamari. That's the answer.
I actually, you know what? Yeah. This feels like kind of like a psychoanalysis. I'm discovering things about myself that I didn't realize. Balls are important in video games, and I'm just realizing that now.
Now, if the GameCube was the Game Sphere, Diallo's favorite console.
Exactly. I needed the Game Ball.
The Game Ball.
I love how colorful and kooky these games are. Like right now, my background on my computer actually is one of the promotional arts from this game because it's just like so rainbow. You've got like random cows and like dancing pandas and stuff. One thing that really made me laugh is this one stage where you're supposed to. So for those who aren't familiar, it's a game where you are this little character pushing around a ball, and you have to pick up items of increasingly larger size. And as you roll the items into your ball gets bigger, and you're able to pick up increasingly larger things. So it's very, very silly. You start off being able to pick up small household objects on your desk and stuff, and then towards some of the later stages, you're like rolling up balls the size of the planet. One stage that really makes me laugh is there's one mission where you have to roll up twins. So you roll up a lot of like human twins. Like there's like some school children that you roll up, or there's like, twin dancers and stuff. And then also you roll up like 2 trees, and apparently the trees are twins. One will be like the older brother, one will be the younger brother. Just like little silly touches like that. Like I love games that are just not afraid to do just silly out there things. And again, I love just how brightful and colorful how bright and colorful the aesthetic is. And also I have to give a shout out to the soundtrack. There's nothing but bangers. One song in particular, Que Sera Sera, I would love to play that at my wedding if I ever get married. It's like, who would have thought that, you'd find a beautiful love song in a Katamari game, but here we are. Also, I have to give another shout out to the King of All Cosmos, one of my favorite video game characters of all time. I would love to cosplay him one day. He's perfect. But yeah, I feel like, sorry?
I said he is the king.
He is the king. I like that he talks in the royal we. And I also love that even in the Japanese version, he speaks in Japanese with a very heavy American accent. And that just feels like so fitting for him. Ore-sama wa Kingu desu. And it's like, oh my gosh, like. But yeah, I feel like if you present me a game that has kind of like similar vibes to Katamari, I'll pretty much like it. So some other, I guess, like honorable mentions in this category, like the WarioWare series, I love those as well. Rub Rabbits, maybe a more obscure DS game, also kind of has a similar energy to me. And there's a game for Wii that I forgot to play that seems very much along these lines called Muscle March, where you do like kind of like silly things. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like this was a really representative of my taste in video games. So I wanted to include it for this list.
I mean, I like it. Especially because, man, I don't know if... I guess I don't know that much about Katamari fans, but I feel like for like the casual and non-Katamari fans, that's the first Katamari game they think of. So I think it's cool that's like a bit more of a niche one. I do have a question. So when you get married, are you going to have a We Heart Katamari, but you cut out the Katamari and put your wife or husband's name in?
Oh, I haven't thought that far ahead, but that could be fun.
You can have a wedding ball.
A wedding ball? Yeah, that could be really fun.
You gathers all the gifts up to get given to you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I was going to say, Katamari kind of came up with its own genre of like causing chaos and destruction because like
right.
country.
Yes.
And that whole .io game is basically just Donut Country again. And that's sort of like created like its own genre of like, okay, start out really small and then just cause chaos by like knocking everything into this ball or a hole or whatever. And
that's true.
It's fun. It's also got like that really very specific like Japanese humor that you can only get from Japanese games. And it's like, oh my god, like I don't play a lot of like Japanese games outside of like Nintendo games. So like when I come across it in other games, it's like, oh yes, I remember, like I love their humor so much. Like
yes,
culturally Japanese, that game for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I played this game for the first time last year and I ended up doing I think 3 playthroughs. I loved it so much.
Damn, nice.
How long are these games? How
About
long is
like
one playthrough?
How long to beat We Heart Katamari? About I would say anywhere from like 6 to 8 hours.
Oh,
and if you
so
want to get
they
like,
are
full completion, they're pretty short.
Actually.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well,
they're,
for that concept.
it's like it's sizable, but not like oppressively long.
Yeah,
like short enough that you can knock them out fairly quickly.
100-hour Katamari game.
I'd be down for it. To be honest, give me open world Katamari, I'm there.
Good God.
Katamari universe.
Well, I think we're back to Leah.
I would say so.
Oh, are we on me now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. My next pick is Super Mario World 2: Yoshi's Island.
Yeah.
Which
is
yet another one of the Super Nintendo games that was like solely for me, and that was another one of my very early like cozy games where like I finished the whole game on my own, beat the whole thing, and then I would just go back and play different stages and just wander around and like enjoy playing the levels over and over again. And just like to this day, the soundtrack is some of my favorite songs. Like they still get stuck in my head just randomly, and I'm like, oh yes, now I have to go listen to this. There hasn't been another Yoshi game that has come close to it either. Like the mechanics of it were amazing. And I feel like the difficulty was just enough to be frustrating, but like you didn't want to like quit the game either. So, and it's also very like real close to my heart also just because I have like fond memories of like this one summer where I would stay up until like 3 a.m, then crash and then wake up at like noon and just play like this. I had beat it already, but like, you know, when you're a kid, you have like all the time in the world. So I just spent like the whole summer just playing Yoshi's Island at like odd hours of the day.
I mean, it's a really, really good game.
It's a top tier platformer, like for real.
Yeah.
I considered it for my list as well, honestly. You know.
Well, no, you didn't have to.
That's right.
You can talk about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I did not play this game until I was long an adult, only probably a few years ago. But like, It's just everything's good. Really good puzzles, the hidden secrets, the art style might be the best on the Super Nintendo. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's just so good. I mean, I played it not long after playing Super Mario World, which is like good, but not one of my favorite Marios. And Super Mario World 2 felt like a real like evolution of a platformer, whereas Super Mario World kind of felt not that big of an evolution from 3.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
It's crazy that they've never made a Yoshi game that is close to as good as this.
They tried.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do
Yeah,
like
I
that.
expected Yoshi's Island to be like its own franchise that just took off and then just
Yeah.
never went anywhere.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah,
like, was it because it was a sequel actually? Is that what happened? Like,
I feel like Yoshi's story was interesting but didn't work out, and then it kind of blunted the momentum, I suppose.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, there's a DS game, right? That's very close to the formula of the Super Nintendo game, but it just
Yeah.
isn't as exciting. I feel.
That's just not as
I didn't-
good.
Yeah, I didn't finish that even. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that one and I dropped it.
I was really hoping Crafted World would be close to it, but
Mm.
it got it sort of there, but it felt like they were trying for Little Big Planet, honestly. And I stopped caring.
Mm.
I love Little
Oh.
Big Planet, but I want Yoshi's Island.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, with Crafted World, it was a good game, but it just doesn't compare overall. I think one thing is Yoshi's Island is much more willing to challenge you. Crafted World, very easy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know we're already talking long, but what's everybody's favorite Yoshi's Island boss fight? I know mine. It's the frog that you fight from inside.
That's a good one.
So
I was
good.
gonna probably say Raphael the Raven.
Yeah.
Interesting. Really?
You
This
fly
is where I
the
have to-
moon.
Yeah, sorry.
This is where I have to confess that I haven't played Yoshi's Island yet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Baba.
Only the one person without Yoshi's Island experience.
I believe it.
Well, hey, maybe that's another game you could check out sometime because it's definitely not that long, and I really recommend it.
No, I'm for sure interested in it.
I've even been replaying it through the GBA version, but yeah. Yoshi.
All right. So yeah, you talked about playing Yoshi's Island for that one summer. That's a good actually. So I did a last minute little look behind the curtain here. I did a last minute change of my 4 games and added another game that I'm going to be talking about here because I realized it is probably much more
This is a
influential on me. Yeah. The other. Yeah, I for the listeners, I did just cross out Tetris from my 4 games to add another
How is
game
this
instead.
possible?
I know it's fucked up, but like I don't. Here's the thing with I added Spore, which is like Yoshi Island for Leah. Spore was a game that I played all summer that year, or it came out later in the year, so probably more like all fall or whatever. Spore came out in 2008. Too much hype and expectation because it was advertised as an evolution simulator thing where you create a creature and have it like go all the way from hell yeah, Diallo is showing his Spore box.
I happen to have it right next to me.
So good. I used to have the big old like the special edition box with all the extra goodies and stuff. That was so cool.
What happened to
But yeah,
it?
I probably sold it or whatever. Maybe it's in a box somewhere. I don't know. Anyway, Spore is all about creating a little creature and having it go through all the stages of evolution, starting from like bacteria all the way to the sophisticated space stage of going from planet to planet. And it's a bittersweet story, this game, because it was unfortunately abandoned way too early by the developers and didn't really fulfill its potential like at all. But I still like hold it very dearly as one of the most memorable gaming experience I had in my life. I did when this came out in 2008, and I still hold 2008 as one of my favorite years of all time. partially because of that. I did play that like all day and night for those months. I loved the creative angle of it, of being able to create any like creature that you could imagine, and the game somehow making it into a like living, movable, reacting thing. That was so novel at the time. I still think it's very impressive to this day, even when you realize how simple some of the mechanics actually are. Especially in the gameplay department, there's a lot of repetition despite the creative freedom, which is kind of it kind of bites each other. It's weird. You have so much opportunities in creating weird creatures, but then the gameplay doesn't accommodate that well, because that gameplay is very dumbed down. Once you have played through the game and you realize what the mechanics are, it is unfortunately very simple. But the highlight of the game was being able to see all the other players' creations, because the worlds you play through were populated by random creatures from other people. So you could encounter anything you could imagine. And it was such an exciting concept that it's one of those creative highs that I still like chase in other like video games or whatever, but nothing has really come close as being a teenager and playing this in 2008. That was such a magical experience back then. I still go back to this every once in a while the servers are still running. But obviously, like, the sparkle has faded big time since then.
Yeah.
But there's always a part there that is always gonna be like hugely important to me about this game. That's why it kicked off Tetris from my list.
A feat that we never thought was possible.
Yeah, me neither, honestly. I thought Tetris had to be there. I'd be talking about Tetris plenty enough in common episodes. So
yeah,
I can also definitely relate to losing lots of days and lots of nights to this game, because this was a big one for my childhood as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it got abandoned too soon. It also had a very delayed release, I remember, because I was so hyped for this game when it was first announced, and they just kept pushing it back and back, and I was like, no, I need to get my hands on Spore ASAP. So I remember like being stressed out every time it got delayed, and then when I finally got to play it, I was just in heaven.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I had it for PC, but because I had a Mac growing up, I had to wait for it to get moved over to Mac. I don't remember if that was later than PC or not, but I was a Sims player, so I was like, anything that they put out, I'm going to care a lot about. So I remember I got it, and then I got stuck somewhere along the way of like learning to travel through planets, and I just never went back to it. But hearing you talk about it all the time, I'm like, maybe I should pick it up again. I know that it's not the same game anymore, but like it's still being sold, so I feel like I should give it another chance just to.
We could get a whole sport group going.
Yeah.
The problem is that while the servers are still up, the actual account creation services are very spotty and can be very annoying to get through.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to make it once.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like even nowadays there are not many games like Spore, honestly.
Oh yeah, definitely not. Yeah. You can't have marketable, recognizable characters in a video game that has all custom-made characters.
I mean,
true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
I was gonna say The Sims found a way around that by having the townies, but I guess you can't really do that when everything is created by other people.
I also wonder how much that's really iconic to The Sims. I feel like most people just think of The Sims as just like people.
Nah, man, The Sims like fans, they are so into the lore of those
No.
games.
I don't mean the fans though. I mean like the greater public.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, yeah.
I do have one question about Spore for you, Matt.
Yeah.
Were you ever on the Sporum?
I was sharing my creations and wanting feedback and that whole thing, giving others feedback. Yeah, I was active.
Hell yeah.
Until it got sad.
A friend where I think like their very first place they started on the internet was this forum.
Hell yeah.
Diallo, were you there?
I think I wasn't like an active poster, but I think I maybe like downloaded some other people's creations and stuff at some point. I remember checking it out at the very least.
We're 2 for 2 on forum members.
You know what? The cool thing though is, since we are doing this little fun collage thing, where on the YouTube version we're gonna add images of all our favorite games here, I'm gonna be able to put my original first creation, my original creature. I still have images of that. I'm gonna put that and memorialize it in the background.
I love that.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
What a beautiful
That's the
tribute.
best use of the
Fuck
title
yeah.
screen.
I agree.
Hell yeah. All right, Roy, give us your next
All right.
one.
So for me, I'm gonna go to definitely a game that I would say has been influential and dear to me. And it's a very long RPG. It's Persona 3 FES, specifically the FES version. Not that necessarily people care, but that is specifically the version. So Leah mentioned that GTA was like the 15-year-old M-rated game kind of thing. For me, my first M-rated game was this one, Persona 3. And when I grew up, I pretty much exclusively had like Nintendo systems. Because my mom, she grew up with an NES, and that was kind of what she knew. And I liked the stuff that was on the Nintendo systems anyway, so I started with a Nintendo 64, got a GameCube, Game Boy Advance. She found an NES at a thrift store, so I had an NES, stuff like that. But, you know, I was on the internet enough that I saw and heard about other games, and at least one of my friends is a really big Persona fan. Like, really big. So I always, if I got like a PlayStation 2, that and Persona 4 were two of the games I really had earmarked where I wanted to get them. So I probably got a PlayStation 2 when I was probably 13, 14-ish, I would say. And I actually didn't get this game from my mom, nor did I purchase it myself. My grandmother got it for me. And I don't think my mom knew it was an M-rated game at the time. I don't remember. I don't think so though. But she knew that was like not the kind of game that was a big deal for an M-rated kind of thing. So she didn't really give a shit, I don't think. But this game is I believe I have as like probably like my second favorite game of all time. Second. But this is just epic level RPG. The themes are extremely deep. This is a very long one, like 100+ hours. Not small like the other ones I was talking about. This is, you know, when I got this game, I played it basically nonstop for probably about a month, maybe 2 months. Beat the whole thing, playing like 6 hours, 7 hours a day or some shit.
Oh my god.
I was hooked. I was jamming through this, and I've gone back and I've beaten it multiple times afterwards too. But I guess I probably only beat it once or twice afterwards. I've beaten Persona 4 more because it's easier to get through. Anyway, one of the best ending in video games. I'm not going to spoil for that reason, but this is the kind of game where when I'm in a down mood or I'm not feeling motivated, I will listen to the music. I will look up scenes on YouTube. I will use that to motivate myself. Because the themes about the exploration of life and meaning hit me really hard back then, and it really, you know, gets the brain turning.
Man, I'm getting chills. I love that.
I mean, it like burned my dread when you know the lyrics. I'll sing that in the shower to motivate myself on a rainy day. Sure, you know, why not?
Yeah.
I think the answer section of that game, which is like basically a second game they added on, is underrated and actually has an extremely good story. Gameplay isn't as good as the main game, but the story is extremely good, dealing with grief and loss. You know, I like that they make it messy. They don't make it clean. I know some people dislike certain characters because of that, but I think it makes it very realistic in a way that really speaks to me. The aesthetics of this game are top notch, and as great as like Persona 5 looks, Persona 3 to me is still the shit. I would say even to an extent like it more than Reload's like modern look, although Reload is a very pretty version, I will say. But, this is a game where even the thing I always thought was a flaw, which is how party control works in the original versions, I really just don't care about anymore. To an extent, I even kind of enjoy it as a curveball. I don't know. There are a few scenes in this game that aren't good because it was 2006. I'm sure that there are parts I can nitpick, but this is one of the closest games I found to where the flaws either don't matter or aren't there for me. I just top to bottom, one of my favorites.
I mean, if it's 100 hours long, there's gonna be flaws, of course. Yeah, you can't avoid that.
I mean, one scene early on, it's like, oh no. One scene in my 100-hour RPG is bad. What am I gonna do?
Yeah, people love Persona, eh?
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be really into the Persona games, but like I can't really get into like anything turn-based, so like I just listen to people talk about the lore and like envision what it's like to play them.
I mean, hey, if you ever really want to give it a shot, 3 is definitely my favorite, even if it's not the most modern, so it might be harder to get into.
Okay.
Definitely, it doesn't have as I would say Reload adds a lot of quality of life changes, but also does a lot of stuff I'm not the biggest fan of, so I'm a bit divided on it. But I'm glad it's a way that a lot of people experience it. I don't necessarily have a ton to say after that. Oh, I will say, girl of choice, Aegis.
I was waiting for that sort of information. It seems to be like, by law, Persona fans have to make that clear.
you gotta. And for Persona 4, it's Naoto.
Okay. Right. I think, okay. So we're gonna go one last time around for our final games. So we're back to Diallo, eh?
Right. So full disclosure, Matt's final game is a game that I was thinking of putting on my list. When I was thinking of games that represent my taste, it was one of the first games that came to mind. So I'm excited to hear him talk about it. It was kind of like both a blessing and a curse, because I was like, oh cool, I get to pick another game, but also, oh no, I have to think of another game to pick now.
Well, that just means a way to sneak another in.
Exactly. It's good, but then I had to go through the effort of choosing what the other game was going to be. So I guess my thought process for choosing this fourth game was I wanted to choose something that sort of like represented something that the other games didn't in my gaming taste. So 13 Sentinels, I feel like, has the whole mystery, mind melty, lots of twists and turns aspect, and also just being phenomenal. Pokemon has like both the nostalgia factor for me and also represents like RPGs, and I play a lot of RPGs. Katamari has the kind of like cute art style and kooky craziness. So I was trying to think of like what am I missing on this list? What's a game that I could pick that's kind of unlike these other three? And the one that I went with was Hypnospace Outlaw, which is an indie game that's kind of like a 90s internet simulator. You play as a moderator for this kind of website thing called Hypnospace, where people log into it when they're asleep. And so you have to go through all these sort of fan sites and look for people who are like violating the rules, posting things on Hypnospace that they shouldn't be posting. You get to sort of like live your online forum moderator fantasy, I guess. And the story... So I guess that's what originally attracted me to the game, was the sort of 90s internet aesthetic, getting to go on that sort of like nostalgia trip down memory lane and sort of relive the olden days of the internet. And as you play the game, you discover there's like a lot, the story's a lot deeper than I expected at first. I'm not going to spoil, where it goes, but it's definitely a lot more fleshed out, and it goes to some unexpected places that I didn't foresee when I first got into the game. But yeah, I like the one a lot. Don't have too much to say about it, but I think the reason that I want to mention it, I think what this represents about my taste in gaming is that if you have a unique concept, that's often enough to hook me. So when I heard like, oh, you're playing as a moderator for, an old-fashioned internet site, I was like, oh, that sounds cool to me. And then as I played it, I liked, I fell in love with the art style. It had some funny writing. Another game that has a banger of a soundtrack. As at work yesterday, actually, I was listening to some songs on shuffle, and some of the Hypnospace soundtrack came up, and I was jamming out to those. But yeah, I recommend it. I think it's an interesting game, definitely worth checking out. The only indie game I have on my list right now But I play a lot of indie games. So I felt like I had to throw an indie game in there at some point. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say for that one. But I felt like this kind of helped round out the list. There were a lot of games vying for this last spot, but I feel like Hypnospace Outlaw is a pretty good representative for me.
I've been having that on my radar for a long time. It looks really, really cool. I love that vibe as well. Yeah, I need to play
I've
that.
never heard of this, but from your description, it kind of reminds me of Orwell, which is another game. Yeah, it's like one of those. It's supposed to be like you're in like some like country where like you're supposed to like find out where people are doing crimes from the internet. So like you have to go through their posts and be like, should I mark this for
cool.
looking at things and mark this for looking at stuff? So, yeah, so it's the same sort of like moderator on a higher level, I guess, because you're supposed to be like the government or whatever. But it's called Orwell.
Ooh, I'll check that out.
I had heard of it from like Kotaku, and I was like, okay, we'll play this. And I don't think I ever finished it, but it just started like it gets increasingly more heavy with like things you're looking at, and I was like, nah, I'm uncomfortable. Now we're gonna stop here. But if you're into like that sort of game, I guess you could check that out.
I will for sure. It definitely sounds up my alley.
Hypnospace Outlaw is another one of those games where like I haven't purchased it yet, but I know people who do have it and they all really like it, so I'm interested in it, kind of thing.
Also, the title is so catchy. Like
it is
Outlaw. It sounds. You have my attention.
It sounds like a 90s anime.
It does. Okay. So this one was a real toss-up for me. I was going to say Tomb Raider, except I don't really appreciate the remake Tomb Raiders, and I never really finished the whole franchise up until then. And then I was going to pick Red Dead, but really I care about both of them in different ways. And then like there's also Red Dead Revolver, which also might be part of the franchise depending on who you ask. But like I feel like all of those, the puzzle mechanics and exploring of Tomb Raider plus the exploring and like heavy storyline that are in Red Dead games is really evident in The Last of Us, which I just played for the first time last year or the year before, which in the middle of a pandemic is not the time to be playing a zombie stealth apocalypse game. But I was just gunning through my whole backlog of games, and I got up to that, and that it took me like 2 weeks to get through because I was like, this is such a like heavy game. Like the world is not fun right now. This game is not fun. This is my escape from this world. This is like terrible. But I really wanted to get through it, and I had played like all the I was like doing like my Naughty Dog run, so I did all the Uncharted, and then I was going to do Last of Us and Last of Us 2. But I feel like what I should have said was Last of Us 2, because I really like the gameplay mechanics in that one more. But I feel like the first game really sold me on like adult video games. Like obviously I had played like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead up to then, but Last of Us was like, oh, we can have games that are like not meant for kids whatsoever, can do adult themes. And like that first game really sticks with you for a long time afterwards, and it's the similar with the TV series, I would say. But it was just sort of, and I'm not a horror person and I don't really care about zombies, but I don't remember what it was that I had this on my list. I guess just because it was from the people who did Uncharted. But that stuck with me for so long that I still listen to the soundtrack every once in a while in the car while I'm driving around in real life, just to be like, remember this game? It's so good. And so yeah, it's one of those, it's like really up there for me when it comes to like story, and to know that I played Red Dead 2 after I played Last of Us and Last of Us 2, and to find out that they solely made it the first Last of Us because Red Dead 2 was so good was like astounding to me, because I was like, this feels like they took this from Red, and I had to like look up the dates and be like, oh no, I had it backwards. They actually were inspired by Red Dead 2, which was also another one that had like really good story. But yeah, Last of Us, I think it was also one of the first games in a long time where like I reconnected with my dad. like my dad and I, we have a great relationship, and like we're always talking all the time. But like we used to play a lot of NES games together and like Super Nintendo games when I was a kid. And then we kind of just got real busy. I was in school, he was working and all that stuff. But like, I remember like running to him with like Last of Us, and I was like, I know this has been sitting on your shelf for like so long, but like play this game. Like, and he was like, yeah, I've tried it a few, and I was like, no, but like the story you have to get through because the story. And so like, and like recently then he's been stuck in Red Dead 2, like 100%ing that game. So I feel like Last of Us was kind of like the first time in a while that we like were able to connect on playing like the same game again. So there's also that part of it that really ties me to this game.
Hell yeah.
And I think that's it for my 4 games.
You might say it was the last of games.
Damn.
Well done.
All right, let me blast through my final pick as well here.
Oh yeah.
A little one sentence honorable mentions. I feel I was thinking about putting the horror shooter Fear on here for being hugely influential on my horror genre taste when I was younger, and I was thinking of putting the horror underwater adventure Soma on here for for using one of my favorite locations in fictional media ever in the best way, in my opinion. But what I actually opted for is, and Diallo was, that's this what Diallo was saying, he almost chose himself. Daniel Mullen's Inscription, which came out a couple of years ago. Yeah, this game rules. Daniel Mullins is one of my favorites, is probably the favorite active game developer for me right now. I played his previous indie games, which are much smaller scope than Inscription, Pony Island and The Hex, which those I already loved for Daniel Mullins' ability to really create games that think outside the box, have you as the player have to think outside the box. He loves to play around with meta narratives and really messing around with your expectations. And Inscription, being his most recent game and his most ambitious one, just elevates all of that like to 11 in a, I would say, perfect way. There's also just an addictive deck building roguelike at the core of it, but there's so much around that system that delivers so much variety and many things that I have never seen in another game done before, that it was just one of my favorite experiences with a game, and also one of those rare occasions where the hype was immense for me and it was fully fulfilled, fully satisfied as well. Inscription is incredibly creative and I think a one-of-a-kind playthrough. Definitely one of those games where you should go in knowing as little as possible, and I wholeheartedly recommend it to anybody. It's so cool.
I second everything you said. I have no notes. You covered every single point I would have mentioned about this game. I agree with everything you've said. I'm just going to second this recommendation. I love Inscription. One of my favorite games ever. Just amazing.
It's
another one of those
crazy.
games. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go on. Yeah.
That's another one of those games. Heard a lot of good things about. Friends have played it, own the game, but haven't gone to it yet. But
yeah,
I know that this is a highly recommended one, and I have wanted to kind of raise my portfolio of horror games I've played because I have not played many. But maybe I'll get to it at some point.
I sure hope so.
Maybe not super soon, but before too long, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I will say Inscription's unsettling, but it's not like full on like you won't be shaking in your boots or anything.
It's more about the vibe.
Yeah.
Getting in your head.
It's about the spook.
The spook, yeah.
All right. So what's your final pick, Roy?
So my final one, this one was the one that took a long time. And this probably wasn't the one where necessarily is my favorite game of my options. I debate between some games like Civilization 4, which is a game I've put 7,000 hours in on Steam. Now, granted, that includes menu time, but at the same time, it doesn't include time when I had the disc for many years before I owned it on Steam. So it probably all evens out in the end. But I chose Super Smash Bros. Brawl in part because this is another game that has a really outsized impact for me outside of the game itself, kind of thing. So, first off, I gotta say, I've probably never been more hyped for a game before it came out than Brawl. The dojo, especially at that time period, where Sakurai would post one thing a day at midnight, I was like, in my teens and stuff with friend groups, I should say, that were really into it. I was on the Smashboards forums. I was checking that shit every day, then going to the forums to go talk to people about whatever snippet of information that sometimes would just be totally nothing, but sometimes would be a character, who knows. I would be doing that like every day. So I was really intensely into this pre-release.
I was right there with you. I remember I was talking about how I was devastated when Spore got delayed, and when Brawl got delayed, I was like, I showed up in school in all black the next day. I was like, I'm in mourning. Like, I was so hyped for this release.
Man, I can relate to that. But so I've mentioned this before, but I do like fan design fake movesets for Smash Brothers. And at this point, I have been doing that for about 13 years of nonstop action. And the game that started that was Brawl. And, funny enough, that's also another thing that is Homestuck related, because that was what the first movesets I made was for Homestuck characters, although I never actually released those.
Oh my god.
I've got the edgy Pikmin roleplay, Homestuck, Brawl movesets. I'm an intense mid to late 2000s kid, let me tell you. But like, my best friend is someone I met while doing this, and we still do it to this day, kind of thing. And we even teamed up to make a moveset for Ravenbeak from Metroid. But my name, Frozen Roy, comes from the Smash Brothers series because it's Melee rather than Brawl, but I went into it later when Roy came back. I would always play the blue color scheme on Roy, and so I went with the tag Frozen Roy. I even got people on Smashboards to make me like an avatar of the blue Roy with like an ice effect on the sword, or signature, I should say, that I still have all these years later. And then another thing with Brawl was that, like I said, I have generally been a poor gamer. I haven't been able to afford a lot. But the Wii PS3 generation, which Xbox was that? That generation? I can't remember all of a sudden.
Yeah, that was Wii.
No, like is Wii, the PS3, and what was the Xbox? Was it 360?
So yeah, it would be Wii 360, and then I think PS3.
Yeah, that's what it is. But that was kind of the generation where I did not have enough money to get the next generation of system. Whereas before I got like the N64, the GameCube, and all that. So I watched this game from afar, while still writing movesets for it, mind you, for like 2 years. So I can tell you that when I finally got a Wii, I think from a thrift store, which I don't know why a Wii was there, but maybe it wasn't a thrift store. I think it was. But once I got that and I got Brawl, I can guarantee you I played the hell out of that game. And sure, the internet wasn't great compared to nowadays, but it was definitely good enough for the time period. And obviously, since I was in a moveset making area, I had plenty of people to play against. I think I still have YouTube videos of of some of our matches from someone, in fact. But, the Subspace Emissary is a good story mode for a game. It's too bad that they've never done anything like that again. The Subspace Emissary is like the most fanfiction.net ass thing that's like in a game I've been, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a game that evokes a lot of
I do know what you mean.
memories. Hell yeah. It just evokes a lot of good memories of some of the best kind of parts of my life, kind of thing. And it's not my favorite Smash game. That would be Ultimate, but it's probably the one I have the most fondness for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Video games rule.
That's
Yeah.
right.
True.
That's right.
This is a fun exercise. I'm glad we got to do this, and I do feel like I understand more of everyone's gaming histories now
Same.
and
yeah.
taste in video games.
I
That's
like
good.
how our lists are so different. How
And I like the
it's a
overlap,
wide
too.
variety. And
Yes.
the overlap.
Yeah.
Like it's like a good mix of where you get like some Nintendo overlap, some open world overlap, and yet they're also very different games at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's good stuff. We're not all playing Call of Duty, and that's it.
That's
No
right.
shade.
I think the only Call of Duty I've played is Call of Duty 2.
Bro, I tried playing Modern Warfare 2. It sucked ass.
I
Anyway.
played Modern Warfare and I played Cold War.
Oh my god.
I enjoyed my time with Call of Duty 2. It's not something that I'd be like, oh my god, it's so good. But I enjoyed my time.
Let's not make this a Call of Duty cast. At least not today. So, yeah, I guess, should we go straight into what we've beaten recently? Should we talk about those games? Anybody want to start?
You know what? I'm going to start with a small one because it's going to be a short one, but I have some thoughts on it. It's pretty random. But last night I was playing and I beat, for as much as you can beat an arcade game, Urban Champion for the NES from 1984. I'm going to come in with a hot take. It's not as bad as people say. Everyone
I've never heard of this.
It's one of those NES games that everybody says is really bad, but like it's a very primitive fighting game. It's basically 2 buttons. You have weak attack, heavy attack, and you can aim up and down, guard up and down, and kind of lean backwards. But considering it came out in 1984 for the arcades, when there wasn't much going on, that's about as complex you're gonna get. I actually thought it was interesting. It has like a high-low block system, just like modern fighting games. Like you can kind of see the genesis, but I just played it while I was like listening to YouTube videos. It was fun. It was enjoyable. I wouldn't call it good, but I had enough of a good time.
That's what's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really all I had to say admittedly, but I just wanted to start off by saying that.
Yeah, go ahead and go through the rest of your beaten games, I would say.
Oh dear. There's a fair few of them. So, Automobili Lamborghini.
Hell
That is Nintendo 64 game, arcade racer. It kind of looks like it's billing itself as more of like a Gran Turismo game, but it's really more of a Ridge Racer arcade racer. I don't know if you know what I mean, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of a mixed bag that came on the side of bad, honestly, because
Damn.
like as really nice graphics for the Nintendo 64. There's like rain effects that are above the system norm. Cars look pretty good. Tracks look pretty solid. Problem is it controls like ass. Like really bad. It is so slippery, man. Like there is one part of one of the race courses where it's like you can tell by the course design that it's a shortcut, right? It's clearly meant that you're supposed to be able to go there. Only problem is that the shortcut cuts your handling some. And our handling is already so bad, it's impossible to just drive through the shortcut. Every time I tried, I would lose like half a lap because it's impossible.
Oh my god.
And is the only vehicle in this game actually the titular Automobili Lamborghini? I think that's a car, right?
It is. It is a type of car. There are, in fact, other type of cars, but I think they are all brands of Lamborghini.
Right. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Makes sense.
The Lamborghini Otters, if you will.
I find the branded racing games so interesting. I don't think there's ever been a good one, but there are a couple racing games that are literally just called after a real world car. It seems so unnecessarily restrictive.
I recognize this cover, but I I don't think I've ever played this game.
Yeah, I haven't, definitely not.
Yeah, when you said there are other cars, I was expecting you to say, "Oh yeah, there's cars besides Lamborghinis, but they're all like really bad." Like you have to play as a Lamborghini if you want to.
So funny.
That would be so good, actually.
Slightly biased to the title car.
Shocking. Actually, wait a minute. There are in fact unlockable non-Lamborghinis.
Are they real brands though, or are they?
Yeah, there's a Porsche 959, Ferrari F50, Ferrari Testarossa, Dodge Viper, McLaren F1, and Bugatti EB110.
Oh wow, okay.
Okay.
I don't know anything about cars, but that sounds impressive.
Dodge Viper was like my Gran Turismo staple.
Oh. Well, there you go. Now if you want to unlock it in Automobility Lamborghini, you can go back to the old school.
Hell yeah.
But I don't think I unlocked any of those because I completed that on like normal mode, and then I got to expert mode, and the controls are even looser on expert mode, and even the AI was crashing after turn 1.
That's always good to hear. Yeah.
And like I tried a little bit, but it was terrible, so I just stopped. I'd already beat on normal twice. Because the first time I legitimately wondered if the looseness was because I was emulating it and like was my control stick dead zone weird or something.
Yeah.
So I like adjusted my controls. Nope, it was just the game.
I can't believe you're stealing video games. Incredible.
I know, I'm a little thief. Star Fox. I felt like I run a Star Fox 64, which is a game I played a lot when I was like a teen and a kid and stuff. And then when I was playing it, I was looking through. Well, what happened is I found a YouTube channel about cut Star Fox 64 content, and that led me to the Star Fox 64 subreddit. But that made me realize there's a Star Fox 64 randomizer, and I played a run of that as well. And if you played Star Fox 64, normally you have like a route through all the planets. There's like 9 levels, you go through it, and you can like randomize the order you go through it, so you can go in weird orders you normally don't and stuff like that.
Does it actually change the gameplay, really? I don't know anything about Star Fox.
Star Fox 64, it's like kind of a rail shootery kind of game, but not quite a shooter. There's elements that you can do to change the game if you prefer to do so. Like there's an option that allows a group of bosses, Starwolf, to appear on a level they don't normally appear, but which I think like they're coded to work in and stuff. You can like randomize your bombs and lives and stuff like that.
Okay.
I don't remember all the options, but I just did like a run with randomized order because I just felt like it, kind of thing. I didn't delve too far into all those options.
Yep.
But game is still very fun, very well designed levels, lots. I always like the little medal system. You need to get a certain amount of shots to unlock a medal. If you unlock all the medals, you unlock like a special hard mode and stuff like that. And you get bonuses for charging shots and shooting. So, you have that versus the tension of just not getting your ass kicked, especially if you're not an expert gamer. My first time that I did the run, I was like, oh man, I died like 3 times during the game. I'm not playing as well as normal. And then in the randomizer, I think I only died at the final boss.
Oh. So you're a pro gamer.
I guess.
Pro Star Fox gamer.
Yeah.
I beat Pokemon Fire Red, which technically, like, I've beaten this game anyway with Pokemon Leaf Green. But I didn't own Fire Red as a keen, so technically it's a new game, everyone.
Yep.
But
and a good one.
I did a Nuzlocke. I was doing pretty well most of the game. Lost my starter because I played stupidly at one point. Decided to do some stuff I hadn't really done before. Like I never bothered catching Articuno and going through that whole dungeon before. So I just grabbed like Articuno. Stuff like that. Won without too much trouble, kind of thing. But It's fun. I'd say Fire Red and Leaf Green are still some of the best Pokemon games that have come out still. You know,
Yep.
I always liked that generation, some of the other ones, because I think it's a very good mix of some of the early Pokemon simplicity, but with just enough complexity to make it, like Gen 1's kind of basic, Gen 2 a bit more advanced, but like just the introduction of abilities and stuff,
Yeah.
especially.
Hard agree.
Literally a game changer.
Yeah. I've always thought that's like the ideal way to play the Gen 1 games for sure.
Yeah.
I lost my Fire Red cartridge. I think it fell out the car, and I'm still sad about it all these years later.
Oh no!
That sucks.
Disaster.
So if you beat Pokemon, you have to say what your final team was.
True.
You have to.
It's the law.
I'd probably have to bring it up admittedly is the thing. Because it's been a while since I beat it.
Can't believe you forgot about your best friends. That's
Your beloved
that's
Nuzlocke party.
wild.
Did their sacrifice mean nothing to you?
Yeah.
Apparently not. I'm the heartless glue trainer, it seems. Let me think. I had Articuno, I had Aerodactyl, I had I didn't use Zapdos even though I caught it. I think Zapdos was kind of like my ace in the hole, as it were, in case of glass break for Zapdos. Vaporeon, Jinx. I used the traded Jinx for the first time I ever have. I don't think I used Kadabra because I evolved Growlithe into Arcanine. That was one of them. The last one, Snorlax, I believe, right? Yeah, I don't think I really used Snorlax much in the actual battles at the end, though. I don't think it really ended up matching up that well.
Sounds like a pretty vanilla team you got there.
Well, I mean, it is Fire Red.
Sure.
It wasn't that many weirdos, kind of thing.
Damn.
I like the idea of calling your party members weirdos.
Yeah. That's what I always do. I always try to get the weirdest unusable Pokemon.
It's fun to do that, admittedly.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I never really used like Articuno in a run, so technically that was like a bit of an odd one for me.
Yeah, but that's a legendary. Legendaries in your team are not.
No. I was gonna use Scyther, but it fainted.
Now it's still a vanilla choice because so popular, but that is a dope ass Pokemon. I would love that.
Yeah,
you should have chosen that.
I think way back with my first Leaf Green Nuzlocke, which is actually when I found how long to beat. Funny enough, I think that probably had like a weirder team because they had like Tangela, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Tangela's fun.
Fuck yeah.
Oh wait, no, it wasn't Snorlax. That's right. It was Fearow. I used Fearow instead.
Yes.
Oh, that's very different.
Yes, you redeemed yourself. Fearow is a legend.
And
so
Fearow
underappreciated.
Because I just remembered, Fearow actually carried me through one of the fights.
Let's go.
Through most of Bruno, aside from Onyx, anyway.
Fuck yeah! Shout out to Fearow.
Shout out to Fearow.
This week's episode sponsored by Fearow.
All the transitions are just the Pokemon sound.
I beat Cruisin' USA and Cruisin' World, which are close enough that I'm probably gonna talk about them together here.
Sounds reasonable.
Cruisin' USA is like the most basic ass arcade racer you've ever played. There is no boost, there is no drift, there is no mechanic outside of drive. But I enjoyed myself. It really is just like drive as fast as possible, avoid traffic, drive as fast as possible, avoid traffic. It was very basic. It wasn't that difficult either, but it was pretty fun. And the interesting thing is Cruisin' World added like a lot more mechanics. Like there's a boost system. I don't even remember some of the other stuff, but honestly, it was a lot less fun.
A lot less fun?
A lot less fun, despite the mechanics. Because, like,
That's weird.
They
But
they
it's the whole
reduced, like,
world.
it is the whole, and you go to the moon.
What?
Huh? Spoilers! What the fuck?
Yeah. If you go through the race, there's like a whole
Cruising
mode where you race
universe.
across the.
Yeah,
Cruising
I was gonna say
universe.
the moon is neither USA nor world.
It is a. I guess it's not even a world because it's not a planet.
Shit.
Yeah, at the end, if you go through like the arcade mode where you do all the races, the Secret Service loads you into a freaking rocket ship and you fly to the moon.
Gets you through. Okay.
I love this.
And it has like weird moon physics.
Oh
Oh,
wow!
I
Oh
do
my
like that.
god.
It is really funny. It's much better than the ending of Cruising USA where you're just at the top of the White House.
Like your car
Like
is
on
on top
the
of the White
roof?
House.
Yeah, your car's on the roof and it gets shown off. Which is better
Oh,
than the
man.
arcade version where you have to see Bill Clinton in a hot tub.
Shut up! Shut up! That's not real. That's not real.
I will find it afterwards. I will show you.
I'm gonna watch like full playthroughs of both of these games when we finish. I'm so
Oh
intrigued
my
now.
god.
But it's only the arcade version. The Nintendo 64 version, they got rid of old Billy and just made your car be on top of the White House.
Incredible.
I should also note it's probably the only Nintendo 64 game that features a porn star in it because she presents the trophies after you win a race.
Porn star?
Yes.
Who?
I don't remember. It was I only found that out when I looked up the game afterwards.
I'm
And
so
it's like,
confused.
oh, Cruising USA, baby. I don't know what to say.
Oh my god.
I need to play this.
Yeah, honestly, Cruising USA is a fun one. You know,
I need to play Worlds though.
it's a trilogy, you see. There's also Cruising Exotica, which I played as a kid.
Oh shit.
Oh my god.
Which Cruising USA is the first one, then Exotica, then World, I think.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But Cruising World does have the most mechanics. Cruising USA was the better game, I found. Although Cruising USA has this one annoying ass level that is just so tight and has so many obstacles that one part of the track just kind of becomes a car pinball and you hope you get through.
Yeah.
But like I thought Cruising USA was like a 6 out of 10, and then Cruising World was like a 3 or 4 out of 10 kind of thing.
Jesus Christ. You're on the moon though. Okay.
You are on the moon, but the track design is just not as good on the rest of the level.
Is there moon boot tires that you get to use?
No, normal tires, but moon physics.
Okay.
I love video games.
And then the last game I have on here is Helltaker, which, despite the fact it's one of the better games on this list, I don't have much to say about. It's just kind of like, it's just a nice, simple, 1 hour long puzzle game or so with good character designs. You know, it's not like super complex or super deep, but the puzzles are fun brain twisters. Made me think a bit. And then good designs, fun story, like concept, silliness. Don't have much to say about it.
Yeah. It do be like that sometimes.
Yeah. As DLC, but I did not play the DLC at least yet. I know the DLC is supposed to be like a lot more difficult too.
Mm-hmm.
That really is about all I had to say.
Sure. Yeah, okay.
That's fair.
Somebody will rescue Roy. I guess I'll just take over with my beaten, if that's a-okay with everybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
We gotta know about the moss after all.
Right, they gotta know about the mouse. Yeah. The first game that I'm talking about is gonna be The Mouse on Nintendo Game Boy, which is a puzzle platformer based on a German educational TV show, a long-running one that's been It's claimed many awards and whatever. It's like considered super like valuable to German society and whatever. Where kids learn about the world. And the game is a puzzle platformer where you play the as the mainly two of the mascot characters who try to save the third one that disappeared. And so you end up going through isometric point of view levels, pushing around a lot of boxes, switching between two characters, and trying to get to the end. I've streamed this. I've streamed my attempt at getting through this game. Leah has witnessed some of that, and Leah can attest to the amounts of pain that has been felt through this game.
Yeah.
I went into this because as revisiting a childhood game because I used to own this as a kid, but I never got far in it. And I figured I'm an adult, my brain has grown a tiny bit since then, and I might be able to actually get to the end of this. But
now you realize why.
Yeah, I mean, the further I got into this game, the more it got, like, the clearer it got to me that I would have never ever gotten through this if it wasn't for save states. This game is like most of the game is actually good, decent puzzle platformer stuff, but every now and then, especially later on, there's just really unnecessarily brutal, like enemies roaming around, killing you really quickly. Of course, because this is a game of its time, the setbacks after game over are fairly annoying, fairly big. And yeah, I would have, as a kid, I would have never made it through this. And as an adult, even with save states, it was a challenge. It was quite something. I'm glad I got that behind me. Much better game on the Game Boy that I've quote unquote beaten is good old Tetris.
Yes.
Yeah. Falling blocks.
I love me some Game Boy Tetris.
Hell yeah. I think everybody. Tetris was a launch title, right? With the Game Boy. That's why it was so big. Yeah.
Just real quick. They even debated if they were going to do Super Mario Land or Tetris as like a pack-in title with the Game Boy.
Yeah.
And they asked like their marketing people, and they're like, well, if you put Super Mario Land in, you'll appeal to like Mario fan and young boys. But if you put Tetris in, you'll appeal to everyone. So they put Tetris in.
Everybody loves squares. We love squares. I mean, I guess with Minecraft, it's
organization.
We do love squares.
Minecraft is just a bigger Tetris.
Sorry.
Just making a joke. It's not actually true.
It's a bigger Tetris on a blocky scale.
Anyway, Tetris. Fuck. Let's go back to Tetris. I call this quote unquote beaten because I had 2 goals in this game that I have acquired. Tetris has 2 game types, game A, game B. Which game A is the regular ass Tetris. You just build the falling blocks, clear the lines, get a high score, and be done. Just until you die, and then you're done. And that has the beatable goal of, like, at certain scores you gain the rocket cutscene, the famous, or one of the famous rocket cutscenes, depending on how big your score is. That changes the size of your rocket. And I think for the first time in my life, actually acquired the smallest of those rockets.
Damn, you must need a lot then.
It's like I think you need like 100,000 points or whatever, and yeah, and I think I never did that before, but recently I finally managed that. And then in game type B, which is a fucked up like kind of puzzle mode that I don't even think sequels really kept doing. There you start on a screen that already has a bunch of clutter, and you have to clean it up, and only have to clear 25 lines, then it's over and you won. But depending on the speed and how high the clutter already is, it's fucking a nightmare. And I managed to get, the fastest speed with the highest clutter. I beat that once after hours of trying and got the big, huge, ginormous, the biggest rocket in the game for that. And with that, I figured, yeah, I basically managed everything I wanted to in Tetris.
That sounds pretty fun, honestly.
Dude, hey, Tetris fucking rules. One of the greatest games of all time. So good.
It took hours just for that last one. Must be really difficult. Probably beyond my skill level.
Yeah, especially since on that last one you don't live long. The blocks are so fast, and it starts with the clutter already up to top, pretty much.
Oh god.
Yeah, you go through a lot of tries in that game.
Think real fast.
Yeah.
Gotta go
if you
fast.
can still think, then yeah.
Sometimes never give up. Trust your instincts.
A couple other games that I've beaten were Shinkansen Zero by an Asian indie horror developer who did a bunch of little games. Shinkansen Zero has a cool little gimmick that I don't think they invented, but it was a lot of fun. It's based, the whole thing is set on a Japanese bullet train. That's the only location. And you basically go from wagon to wagon. And in each wagon, you have to look out for any anomalies, which could be, a lot of them are fairly,
Alright.
a lot of them are fairly creepy, but others are just generally tiny details in the wagon. And if there is an anomaly, you're just supposed to go back. If there's no anomaly, you go straight through. And you have a certain amount of wagons you're supposed to get through without, I don't know, dying or whatever from an anomaly. And then you win at the end. And it's such a simple concept, which I've been told has been done before in other games that I have to check out. But it's such a simple concept that's just really fun. Just really exploring or studying your environment. And since it is in a bullet train, it's a very small, closed off environment.
Right.
It's just a satisfying thing to do with lots of surprises, little creeps and spooks. It's a great game. I love that one.
I hadn't heard of that one before, but there's one, I'm presuming by the same developer, called Exit 8, where it's the same thing, you're like walking through. It's not the same developer?
It's not,
I've been told about that, but it's not the same developer.
Okay.
And I think Exit 8 came before Shinkansen Zero.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
which is the same exact concept.
Yeah.
Where you're like walking through a corridor, you're trying to get to Exit 8, but you have to look out for the anomalies, and if there's an anomaly, you go back. If it's all Gucci, then you go forward. Yeah.
I wonder if the Shinkansen person got inspired by that, but I have to play Exit 8 for sure. That sounds super cool.
That does sound interesting, though. I'm gonna put on my wish list.
It even has a VR version, I've heard, which sounds scary as fuck.
I think the first of those anomaly games that I came across was Observation Duty, or I'm on Observation Duty or something.
Oh,
which is basically it's basically Five Nights at Freddy meets Shinkansen, where it's you just have all the cameras and you have to just go through all the different cameras, and if something's wrong, then you have to report it, and if not, then that anomaly will get you. So you have to make it through multiple nights of being was that chair there? Is there two chairs usually? Where's the painting?
That.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that sounds like it would destroy me.
Yeah.
I've seen Markiplier play it. It must be good.
I mean, that's just multiplication.
Sure, but all right, let me blast through my remaining games here. I played Tanuki Sunset, a little indie game where you play a raccoon on a longboard, bombing some hills, basically. Lots of bottomless pits around to the side of the road, and you just have to stay on the road, not crash into anything. I don't know why it's called Tanuki Sunset. I feel like because a tanuki is not a raccoon. A tanuki is a different animal. It's not a raccoon. It's the only thing that bothers me about this game. because the game itself is actually good. I was going into this expecting more of like a throwaway little trash indie thing, like a shovelware style thing, because there's a lot of indie games with raccoons or other like popular animals that just do the bare minimum and not really give you anything. But Tanuki Sunset is actually made with like passion and ambition, and it's a nice little short little racing game in a way.
Looks like this game is on itch. Is that the full version or is it like a demo?
I think it started on itch as like a demo or whatever. They might have put the full game on there as well by now. I got it on Steam though.
Makes sense. Maybe it's called Tanuki Sunset because the time of the Tanuki is over. It's sunsetting. Now it's the time of the raccoon.
What? Is that a line in there or did you make this up?
I just made it up. I just looked at it. I'm like, well, maybe that's why.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess the things that you collect are called Tanuki bits.
Yeah, sure, but it's still like I don't know. It's just a tidbit that I have a gripe with. Escape Memoirs Ministry is another game that I've beaten. This is purely co-op. This is a free co-op escape room game, which is a kind of game that I play a lot with a friend of mine. And this one, you basically break out of jail. You are both in the same environment, first-person view. Have to do escape room puzzles. Really not anything fancy. I think we spend more time in this game with they they placed a bunch of collectibles, a bunch of little weird guys, little action figure guys around the map anywhere, and we spent a long time actually finding all of those. And they are hidden well in the weirdest bits of the environment and everything. The actual puzzles
Crash
themselves.
Bandicoot of escape room games.
I guess so.
You gotta search every nook and cranny for this chick.
We gotta find all these little guys.
The fellas.
Yeah, it's a good co-op puzzle game, and it's free on Steam. I recommend it if anybody's looking for that. And the final game that I quote unquote beat.
The one we've all been waiting for since it's been on the list.
Well, there's a
The
thing
true
called
legend.
Gobble. Yeah. Gobble the legend.
Never before seen by human eyes.
Yeah. There are only tall tales of the Gobble. So Gobble was a fairly obscure like arcade puzzle game or whatever. It's very much in the style of a little bit like Pac-Man meets Q*bert, or I think there's a game like called Crystal Castles that is very much like Gobble, and Gobble came later. Gobble is a thing that exists and some people know about it. It's just a strange little guy. And at some point somebody created a kart racing spin-off for this weird obscure little guy, which was named Gobble Buggy Racer. Apparently this was supposed to be a Wallace and Gromit racing game that got canned, and then they salvaged it by making it a Gobble game because that would sell.
It's such a hot IP. How could it not?
I mean, also the character model looks astoundingly like Wallace in the first place. So
I don't know about that. Yeah, the only
And who's Gromit?
Wallace and Gobble. The only reason why I even know about this shit is because for some reason we had a physical CD of that when I was growing up. But we never got it to run on any PC, so I just had to stare at the cover art and wonder. And
the mystery of the Gobble was beyond
make up your own game.
What the fuck is Gobble Buggy Racer? What could it contain? I have no idea. and I've been trying to get it to run for years now, I think. And recently I got it to somewhat run. It was a very glitched out version, but it was mostly playable. And I played through the races that were available. It sucks. It handles terribly. It runs like shit. And I'm pretty sure it also ran like shit, even on appropriate hardware. I think I got.
Considering you couldn't even get the CD to run back in the day.
Yeah, you see, exactly. I think this game was just a bunch of garbage from the beginning. And it looks like I recorded my footage, my gameplay, and it looks like genuinely my glitched out broken version is the only full footage of the game on YouTube right now. Which, like, gaming historians, you're welcome. But yeah, that was a painful, wild experience that I have now mentioned, and I'm done with my beaten games. Does anybody want to talk about better games?
Wait, before you go on, I do want to say one thing.
Oh, God.
Apparently it's called Tanuki Sunset because the main character is named Tanuki.
That's stupid. I don't like that. I don't think animals should be named after other animals.
What's next? A dog named Cat?
I've heard of dogs named Kitty.
I've known some dogs named Fox.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So,
well, anyone with a pet with a pet raccoon, you gotta do name on tap.
Oh my God. We need to move on from this.
Yeah, my beaten next, since mine is pretty short, so I don't want to end this section on a whimper. So for a little bit of context, I started a new job recently, like last month, and so adjusting to the flow of that has been kind of like consuming a lot of my free time. I'm getting back into like more of a flow of normalcy now, so I'm trying to amp up my video game time. So I haven't beaten anything super recently. The most recent game that I've beaten was in October when I beat Resident Evil 2, the OG version. To explain a little bit about my background with the Resident Evil series, I don't really do super well with horror, but I've been developing a morbid curiosity with horror over the past couple years. I think the catalyst for that was I started playing Dead by Daylight, and I got really hooked on that game, and it features a lot of characters from different horror franchises, and the more I played Dead by Daylight, the more interested I got sort of like learning the backstories of all these other characters in the game. So eventually I decided to give Resident Evil a try. The first one that I played was the remake of the first game. I found it very, very scary. I got through one of these games, never doing it again. Flash forward a year later, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of feeling the Resident Evil, the itch again. I want to try out another one. So I played horror on stream after that. And again, it was a terrifying experience. So highly stressed out the entire time. I screamed so loudly, my neighbors must have hated me because I was just shrieking at the top of my lungs. Very stressful. And then, like clockwork, in October, I was like, you know what? It's October. I should play some spooky games. Let me give this Resident Evil thing another try. And fortunately, the OG versions came out on PC a little bit ago. Or I guess they came out on PC like in 96 or whatever, but they got re-released for PC recently. And I was like, okay, I can probably handle the OG versions because it's not like, photorealistic graphics. It's very like, polygon models and everything. Maybe it's like this like sort of like retro graphic style, I can sort of manage getting through the game, and I did, and I'm happy to report that it is my favorite Resident Evil that I've played so far. I like the whole aspect of having the A route and the B route. So I did Claire A and Leon B, and I really like having sort of like the A side and the B side of the story, and that you have stuff that you do in the A side that affects what happens in the B side. I got through it without like a ton of jump scares for the most part. I think I had like one or two during the A side. On the B side, I got a lot of jump scares by Mr. X, so he made me scream a little bit. But I had a lot of fun with it. I'm looking forward to eventually one day playing Claire or Leon A, Claire B, and I'd also like to get to the to play the 2019 Resident Evil 2 remake at some point. But I'll need to muster the courage for that, because one thing that made the OG a bit more manageable for me is that the lights are on, but in the remake, most of the lights are off. The zombies are a lot more ooky spooky. I'd like to play it one day. But yeah, that's all that I've beaten, like, I guess, super recently. If we go a little bit farther back, in this summer, I played Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir. which is the first game in that series. They're these kind of visual novel adventure games that originally came out in the SNES and have been remastered for Switch. So it's a mystery. You play as a boy detective. You've been assigned to sort of investigate the mysterious death of the matriarch of this family, and then things escalate from there. I found the story to be really interesting. I like that it's all completely voice acted. It takes place in rural Japan. As someone who just moved from Japan, it sort of activated my nostalgia heartstring.
You lived in Japan? Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I spent the past 8 years there, and I just moved back to the States about half a year ago now. And so it definitely made me miss... I was pining for Japan as I played it. Yeah, I like the story a lot. I like the characters. The gameplay I found to be a bit frustrating. I felt like a lot of times you have to sort of like brute force your way through the solutions, because like a lot of times it's not just as simple as like, you know, choosing the right dialogue options. You have to like maybe present this one specific item and then choose this dialogue option and then present another item and then choose another dialogue option and then choose that dialogue option again and again and again. There's like some like really like obtuse things you have to do to progress a couple times. For the first half of the game, it was kind of like brute forcing my way through every single solution. I would try like, you know, every piece of dialogue I could. I would try presenting every piece of evidence and just like loop through it again and again and again until I finally progressed.
I remember people being really excited when they kind of brought those games over because they've been Japan exclusive for a long time, right?
I think that's right, yeah. But yeah, I like the story a lot. I had a kind of frustrating time playing it. So for the second game of the series, I just watched a Let's Play. And then so the second one being The Girl Who Stands Behind, I think that's what it's called. And then they released a third game for the series earlier this year called M4thew, the Smiling Man. And I'm hoping that has sort of like improved.
Oh, right.
Right. The horror trailer, like the ooky spooky Nintendo game for Switch.
Yeah, everybody was freaked out. Everyone was like, what the fuck is this?
Right. And I've heard that one gets like pretty dark and super ominous. I have it rented, so I'm looking forward to starting that one. I'm hoping that the quality of life will have improved a little bit compared to the original two entries in the series. Because I felt like one thing that they could have done, it feels like it plays just like how it did on the SNES, and I feel like they could have modernized it a little bit, but I'm hoping that M4thew irons out some of those kinks a little bit. But yeah, haven't played Super a ton recently, but that's, I guess, the most too recent that I've done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that is
we're off to Leah.
Yeah.
There can be only one.
All right, so most recent thing was today I completed I'll Be Brave Tomorrow, which is kind of an indie game. I think I found it from Kickstarter. It's basically about kids with cancer. It's not a fun theme game, but the basis of it is you're a kid who's in the hospital and they've got their NES with them, their Super NES with them, and they've got like all little cars around and stuff, and so like you're just like looking around the room and you play mini games basically. So like you can play like a little RC car game, and you can play, you know, and like the main mini game is this Yoshi's Island clone, essentially, where you play a bird.
Fuck yeah.
Which was the only thing that like it was the only thing that I saw in the Kickstarter, and I was like immediately buy, like or immediately back. Like I was like, I need this. So it's a good Yoshi's Island clone, I guess. It's not really much of a clone. It doesn't have like the egg mechanics or whatever, but you're just a little bird running across like this very contrasted, I guess, very cartoony world, and he's trying to find his dad. So like each level has like 3 feathers for you to find or whatever, and it's like it goes through like summer levels, autumn levels, winter levels or whatever, and all the villains or whatever are like his toys that he has back at his house or whatever. So like it's very like Toy Story meets Yoshi's Island sort of a thing, and it was very enjoyable. It was a very short game. I think I played it in like 2 sessions and beat pretty much 100%. I think I'm missing only like 2 of the achievements. There's only like 12 achievements. I'm not a big achievement person anyway, but
right.
But yeah, so that was very enjoyable.
That looks really cool.
The other short one that I played was Winnie the Pooh, which apparently is the storybook version of the movie when they kind of rebooted Winnie the Pooh back in like 2000 or whatever. So it's very obviously like a CD-ROM game, but it was like on sale on Fanatical for like $1 or something. And I was like, I love Winnie the Pooh, sold. So, you know, you just played through the storybook in like an hour, and I was like, that goes on my completions list. There you go. Easy win. So, yeah, that one, I mean, it was really just like an interactive storybook where like at some point I was like, you could just keep reading me the story. I don't do anything here. But also in that same vein, We Are OFK, which is like supposed to be like this K-pop visual novel thing. But I streamed that, and it was basically like, why am I streaming? It's so not interactive. It was so much like everything is just taking place, and like I guess there's certain streamers where they'll watch stuff and they'll do like reaction videos or whatever, and that's basically that type of a game where you just sit there, you watch the game, you make a choice maybe, and then that's it. But like each episode was like an hour long, so I just slogged through it. It was definitely not the kind of game I usually would play either on or off stream. But I know a lot of people were talking about it. People are excited to see the ending, because a lot of people apparently played like 3 episodes of it and then just dropped off completely. So nobody I talked to that used to play it knows what the last 2 episodes were. So
that sounds like quality then.
Yeah, it was like the music can be some like every episode also ends with like a music video of like the group from the game. And it's supposed to be like an interactive music video. You're supposed to do things, but it doesn't tell you like what you're supposed to be doing. You just have to figure it out yourself. So it was very strange. But if you like, you know, like electro pop sort of music, it's good. If you like, you know, indie sort of visual novels, I guess it's good. But like I was expecting a little bit more interaction for this game, so it wasn't really my sort of thing. And the last beaten game that I have on my list is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which took me a very long time to put down because I really enjoy Zelda as a franchise to begin with. And I am actually one of the ones that was not excited for Zelda to be a playable character. I kind of liked her just being on the side and being like the side character and just helping you do things. But they found a way to make it interesting where she wasn't exactly just doing what Link does.
Right, it's not just
they gave her
game with Zelda kind of thing.
Yeah, so they gave her like her own powers, her own kind of thing to do. And I'm a big fan of Link to the Past. So it was basically sort of the same map. So I was like, anytime you put me in this version of Hyrule, I will love it. So, you know, once I saw that I was nearing the end, it was like, do anything else because I don't want this to end. So finally I was like, all right, I guess I have to finish this because there's nothing else to do in this game. So
seems like it's very successful then. Yeah,
I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it because I expected to just like run through the main story and be like, well, that was done. Check that off the list. But I was enjoying it a lot more than I expected to, considering how against the fact of having her as the main character I was. But I really enjoyed it in the end.
Protagonists? What's this about? Incredible.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I do enjoy female protagonists in games, but it's just like she was always more important in the background. I feel like she, like in more recent games, like even from like Ocarina of Time, like she was doing other things. She didn't need to be the one on the front line. So like I kind of liked her just doing all her research and doing all like the wisdom stuff and like, you know, being like
the B plot a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciated that. And I was like, if you make a game where you give her like the B plot and we follow her on the B plot, fine. But don't put her in the Link's position in this game because she's not courage, she's wisdom. And that's the whole point of the 3 Triforce cards. But
that's why the CDI game failed.
Of course. I would say I've always wanted a Zelda game, so I was glad that I am also glad they did something different, didn't just make it Link. And I'm also glad that it seems like the game has been largely successful. Yeah, it's not necessarily like, oh my god, best Legend of Zelda game ever material, but it seems like broadly enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm also glad at that part too, because I also know how heavy that was riding on it being a good game. Just because if it wasn't a good game, people were going to be like, it's because it's Zelda, and if you had put Link in the, it would have been a whole thing. So I was like, please at least be semi-decent of a game. So I'm glad that it was, and
But have it be the Super Princess Peach of the series, as it were.
Right, yeah.
Well,
but now I'm excited to see if they do continue on that quest of giving her like mage abilities, basically.
I mean, it sold really well, didn't it?
Yeah.
What I know. So, I'd be surprised if they don't do a follow-up.
Yeah.
Well then, should we move on to the retired and pause segment?
Since you got the great idea, you might as well start.
Well, mine is pretty simple, especially because it's not really retired. I started up Sonic Adventure 2 on the Steam version.
Yay.
I played a few levels in, and I kind of noticed some of these physics seem a bit weird. And I was talking with... Even for Sonic Adventure 2.
Okay.
And I talked with one of my friends who, is a big Sonic fan. They're like, yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 on Steam. If you don't mod it, it's a port of another port, and it gets kind of funky at times. So I'm like, I'm just gonna go play the Dreamcast version, which I haven't gotten around to, but that's why I paused it. I'm gonna just start over with an old version.
You paused it to steal it because the official version is bad.
I purchased it so then I could steal it ethically. You see.
I guess you've reminded me that I have a Sonic Adventure 2 playthrough on Steam that I also kind of, accidentally abandoned. It was one of my favorite games on the game growing up.
So don't try this game.
I mean, I didn't have any issues with it. I just got distracted by other things, I guess. But yeah, it was a nice little trip to memory lane.
Yeah. I mean, I can say right now, even though I never played this game, it was in fact a critical part of my teenage years. But I was really excited to play it. I'm definitely going to get back to it.
I'd like to get back to it eventually too, especially I think the thing that interests me the most is the Chow Garden. I don't really care about going through the whole story again, but I want to experience a Chow raising simulator. If they made that its own standalone game, I would buy that.
Right? That seems like it'd be a potential killer little side game, especially since they're finally making Sonic side games.
Surprised that there's not one.
The legendary Chow Garden, I've heard a lot of it.
And that was the only game I had, so.
I can talk about a game that I've sort of accidentally paused, which would be...
Okay.
So it's rare for me to consciously abandon a game, but I've been neglecting Metaphor ReFantazio. This is just purely a matter of timing. It came out the week before I started my new job. It's an Atlas game, very similar to Persona or Shin Megami Tensei series, but with more of a fantasy twist. It's got an art style that I consider very, very beautiful. It's hard to describe. Everything looks kind of like a collage, kind of like mixed media. The soundtrack is really banging. I was really, really enjoying it. It felt like a game. If someone was like, Diallo, what is your dream game? It felt like they just created this game with me in mind, is the impression that I had when I first started it. I put 12 hours into the demo, was absolutely loving it. And then the new job hit, and I haven't really to play that much of it since. I think that the issue is that, so I'm working kind of weird hours now, where I finish work around 8 or 9 p.m. So I don't have a lot of time to game in the evening, but I would try to do little short sessions every now and then, keep the plot fresh in my head, not completely forget how to play the game, just sort of remind myself that it exists. Last week or so, I was like, let me give it another whirl. I know it's kind of late at night already, but I want to try to get a little bit of progress in this game. So I was going through the same dungeon. I got to a boss fight and made some misplays. Half my party got KO'd, and I was like, yep, this is another sign. We're going to put this down for the day. And I haven't gotten back since.
It's time to go.
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll play it tomorrow, because I really have enjoyed what I've played so far of it. And it's just been I keep getting stumped by silly things when it's late at night. But if I have a long chunk of time to actually sit down with it, I feel like I'll be able to make some good progress. But yeah, it's been neglected for the past couple weeks. Hoping to get back to it eventually. But that's where I am right now.
I know I've seen people really, really like this game to a kind of a surprising degree, honestly, to me.
It's gotten some really
Not
good
because,
reviews.
obviously, yeah. I mean, obviously, Persona 5 and all that's really popular. But I've seen a lot of people be like, this is one of my favorite Atlas RPGs ever, and it's actually more different than you would think. And I'm like, well, that kind of surprised me. Not that I really have access to it to confirm myself, but...
Yeah, hopefully I'll be able to give you more impressions of it as I progress.
Yeah.
The progression impression.
Ooh, I like that.
Wow.
All right. How about Leah goes next? Because Matt has about 6 things.
Well,
Yeah.
okay.
Matt's going to carry the entire retired segment by itself.
With all my garbage, yeah.
Yeah, like garbage buggy racer.
The only things that I have, I started playing growing up, which is another visual novel, but it was right after I had just finished We Are OFK. So it was a little too much for me to be like, more reading? I just want to shoot things. So I was also playing that
Doom visual novel.
Yeah, well, good thing that Doom is the game of the month right now, so I will get to do that, and then I can come back to growing up. But yeah, it was also a little bit too much visual novel for me. Like at the time, I was like, I need more action right now, so I kind of paused it for now. And I was playing it on my laptop, which is like one of 3 games that my laptop can run apparently from my Steam backlog. So I was like, well, I guess I play this on my laptop, but like when I'm on my laptop, I'm usually like journaling or doing other like tasks. So I don't have time to like play a game also. So, but I think it's only like 6 hours or 8 hours or something. It's like relatively short if you stick to it. So I will come back to it just because of how short it is. And I hate retiring games when they're less than like 15 hours. Cause I'm like, I can do this if I like dedicate enough time. So, and similarly with
really broad.
Yeah.
Wow.
And similarly with Railbound, I got stuck. It's kind of like a little puzzle game where you have to like decide, you have to get all the train cars in a row, like 1, 2, 3. But there's like different lights you have to pass them through and different tracks that you have to get them through. But apparently at some point they updated it and I got stuck on a level and I went looking for that level and they were like, oh, there's like 3 different versions because they've updated multiple times. And I was like, I'm not looking for 3 different versions of this solution. I just want to know how to get out of this one level that I've been stuck on. So I got out of that one. And then I think it happened like 2 other times. And I was like, no, man, like, this is good when I'm like not tense and I can just be like, yeah, whatever. But like after a while, I'm like, I have been here for an hour looking at trains. I need to leave. So I paused that for now because I was like, I can't right now. I can't do puzzle games at this point in time. But it is a delightful game and it's also very short. I think there's like 9 worlds and I think I'm like at 7 or something like that. Like I'm like 2 worlds away from the end. So I was like, come on, I can do this. If I have patience, so I will slog my way through it eventually.
We believe in you.
Yeah. Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I guess I'll take over with my garbage. Well, I'm gonna start with I retired Super Tetris. Because just because you have super in the title doesn't mean that you are super.
Ooh, wise words.
Yeah, I'm saying what everybody's thinking. I'm brave enough. But Super Tetris is a PC release of Tetris by some developer called Sphere. Tetris.
No wonder they failed. A developer called Sphere making Tetris.
Oh shit! You're right. Holy shit! I didn't even think about that.
That's a match made in hell.
That is so ironic. Oh my god. Yeah, no wonder they can't handle
Wow.
that. Oh my God. It all comes full circle. But yeah, so this is a PC port. I guess like back then Tetris was like the rights around Tetris were really ambiguous, I guess, and everybody just tried to copy it. And so there are a million weird like Tetris releases from back in the days. This being in the 90s. And this Super Tetris PC thing, I mean, yeah, it is Tetris, but what they changed is that instead of just clearing your lines, building your blocks until you die, until you fill the screen, getting your high score, in this one, you have a bunch of clutter coming from beneath, and your goal is to clean up that clutter until there's nothing left.
So it's kind of like the Mode B you were talking about in Game Boy.
It's a little bit like the Mode B, but you have to do way more lines. And there's a couple like weird power-up thingies, like bombs and lightning bolts that you activate by clearing lines to destroy more blocks or whatever. But like the whole, really the only thing that why I played this, I found this in some weird collection of old games that somebody made to make them playable on modern PC. But this like caught my eye because it looks so strange. The entire vibe is like a circus theme with lots of like real pictures of like strange circus situations.
Well, of course, it was made by Sphere.
It's I think the sphere is probably referring to their clown noses in their faces. That would make sense. But yeah, the whole thing just has it just has a really weird vibe, really ugly look, and doesn't play well. The power-ups as gimmicks don't add anything really satisfying, and it just was annoying. I'm not planning on beating every level. Another thing that I retired was Tetris 2. More Tetris. This one being on Game Boy. This one being an official Tetris, a Nintendo-approved Tetris. And it's not a bad game, but it plays a lot like Dr. Mario, and that's just not my vibe. So I don't don't really have anything to say about this one. It's just not my cup of tea.
That makes sense. It's not true Tetris.
See, Tetris comes in many shapes, in spheres.
It truly does.
Tubes. Yeah. It's not always the same game. Another thing that I don't really have much to say is Acorn Pinball. I was looking for autumnal games recently, and that was a game for free on itch where you play pinball with acorns. Like a decent little thing. But really, it was just a bugged out, really dull mobile game that somebody made, and I did not even bother to finish it.
Yeah, at least it's not Tanuki's Acorn Pinball.
Yes, at least the title actually refers to what it is. That's true. Another slightly better pinball game is a game that's, yeah, I guess I could say, Roy, you kind of put this into my attention. Well, I mean, I heard about this before, but we talked, and for some reason, we both had this on our minds recently.
I mean, how could we not?
Yeah, because it's the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy on the Game Boy Color. Truly,
everyone's
a
talking
timeless
about it.
Classic. Right, exactly.
It's the hotness right now.
Oh, you're not playing Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy?
Yeah.
What are you, a scrub?
That was generally said, like, we had this off mic where Roy and I were talking about this, and we had this moment of, yo, why the fuck are you talking about this? I was literally planning to play this month, and it was so weird because it's such an obscure little tie-in game for a home video sequel.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fine.
Well, not fine enough for you to complete it.
Yeah, I mean, I've played a bunch of pinball video games by now, and this one is genuinely in the mediocre section. It's not a terrible. It's solid.
Certified
made.
5 out of 10.
Right,
As movie
yeah,
tie-ins go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Leah. Frankly, for the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy, the fact you get 5 out of 10 is probably a good thing.
Yeah, that's probably true. It's well made. It's just not very exciting. It's better than Acorn Pinball, but it's worse than another pinball game I'm gonna be talking about later.
Ooh, we're getting some foreshadowing in here.
And the final game that I retired.
We'll say real quick, I
Yeah.
do still plan to play the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy.
I mean,
we'll have to
you
exchange
better.
our
You can be the one to beat it.
True,
I would
yeah.
be very impressed, to be honest.
Is it that difficult?
The thing is, I mean, it's a pinball game. There's no real win state. You just get a high score. You could argue that unlocking all 16 mini games could be it beaten, but
That's what I was
you have
thinking.
to. Yeah, but you have to actually figure out how to unlock them on the table, and it doesn't tell you, and then actually have to do that. It's a lot of work. I'm not doing that.
I was gonna say that's what walkthroughs are for, but I'm not sure there are already walkthroughs for this game.
Yeah.
But even if there are, even if
Or
they tell you
guides.
how to do it, you still have to actually manage to do it on the pinball table.
Execute it.
It's gonna
True.
be a big challenge. I'd be
I mean,
very
this could be the
impressed if you
Dark
pull it
Souls
off.
of this
Oh
year.
gosh.
I mean,
Dark Souls of movie tie-in pinball games.
pinball Souls like.
That actually feels like it has potential.
Okay.
A pinball Souls like. I'm gonna make this game.
I would be interested. Yeah.
That would be. I mean, Souls like could already have like a rhythm feel. They could have a pinball feel too.
True. And we've already had a pinball Metroidvania and that worked, so why the fuck not do a Souls-like as well?
I think we're onto something.
And we had Metroid Prime pinball.
Oh my god, yeah, that's not even what I mean. Oh gosh. True, that existed. No, I was talking about Yoko's Island Express, one of the greatest game of all time.
I've heard about that one.
Anyway, we're not here to talk about that today. Let me finish this. I need to finish this.
Wait, hold up, Tetris pinball.
I would be out. That should be made by Sphere. Right?
That's a different
Anyway.
shape.
Exactly. But what happens if a pinball is square?
If you
How's
put
it
enough,
TCGP?
if you put
The pin
together
square?
enough Tetris blocks, it's gonna round out eventually.
Anyway, how you can go.
Anyway, the final game that I retired was Yoshi on the NES,
Yoshi.
which it's a
Yoshi.
really, really good puzzle game. I really like it. It's just the only reason why it's in my retired is because I don't know if it has a win state where I could call it beaten or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just a really, really good puzzle game. I might even go back to it at some point, but right now I had my time and it's done for now.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah,
But
it was a nice little thing we had going.
Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie were like really, really fun puzzle games for the time. Like they had no business being so fun when there was
True.
Tetris right there.
Dangerously close to Tetris.
I mean, when you have Tetris right there, you need to bring your A game.
It's true.
True. You can't be Super Tetris. Anyway,
True.
Bubble Ghost.
since I see that Roy, you got Yoshi in your playing list, so why don't you just take over?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So, what I'm playing is the Game Boy Advance version of Yoshi's Island, which is Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3.
Of course.
I've already beaten the SNES version before,
Mhm.
but I felt like replaying it just because it's really good game. And just, if you want a platformer, very chill. So I'm like, why not play the GBA version? I can say I've beaten that version too. it's just a slightly worse version of the SNES version. You know, it's the colors are slightly washed out. Some of the control is a bit better actually. I don't know how to put it. Not like responsiveness per se, but I don't know. I guess I feel like maybe it's the way the triggers work. I don't know. But Yoshi's Island is
Oh.
just such a good puzzle platformer. Just it's a good mix of challenge and chill. I like how many different collectibles they are, even if sometimes the red coins can be a bit bullshit.
Yeah.
The bosses are pretty much always fun and honest. Like Raphael the Raven's a great boss fight. Even the early ones are pretty fun. Just a great game. The art style remains amazing. Maybe the best looking game on the system for the SNES.
Yeah. I agree with you there for sure.
You know, like I can think of
So
competition, but at minimum, it's up there. Just an amazing game, and I'm having a blast replaying it.
I want more platformer games where the boss fights are literally just resized regular enemies. I love that so much.
It is fun.
Yeah. Fantastic game.
Yeah. One that's just going to be perpetually on here, so I might as well just get out of the way, is just Wordle. Because of the fact I continue to be just playing Wordle every day. Because why not, I guess?
Only person still doing it.
Actually, I started up Wordle recently.
Oh shit!
Alright, hell yeah! I'm on a streak. I'm on a streak of 524 out of 900.
Oh, okay, no. I think my streak's 6.
Just a few years, we'll get there.
Yeah.
But I'm on 3 right there, so wish me luck with finishing it later.
Good luck.
Sonic Generations is kind of interesting because I wasn't really planning to play it, and how much I might play it might be inconsistent. Because what happened is a friend was just streaming games, and I just popped in to say hello to them. And it's like, hey, maybe we could play a game at the same time or do some. How about Sonic Generations? Yeah, sure, why not? So, started playing Sonic Generations. Definitely pretty good. I've never played a Boost Formula Sonic game before this one. So, getting used to that is kind of interesting. Good sense of speed. Control, still getting used to it. Sometimes kind of floaty, I would say. Feels easy to kind of lose yourself at times. But pretty fun. I like the bonus levels. I like that you can... Like, there's a whole bunch of different ways to either replay a level or get a twist on the level. Like having a super jump ability that you need to get through new sections, or having to race someone, or having a bunch of enemies or whatever. It adds some variety for that. I'm not that far into it, so I can't say much aside from that. But it was like an hour and a half into it, I would say. Hearthstone, I just kind of been getting back into that for some stuff. It's hard to say too much about it, because it simultaneously has changed a lot from when I last played it, which is like 9 years ago at this point.
Has it been this long since this?
It came out in like 2013 or 20. Yeah, I know, crazy.
Oh
it
my
came out
god, dude!
It came out in 2014, and I stopped playing, I think, around 2016-ish. When there was like a whole controversy that was happening.
Yeah.
But the game has changed a lot, but the base is still really fun. Battlegrounds remains fun. I'm still good at that. Getting my ass kicked in the arena though.
Do you do ranked matches or just
Oh man, I used to. I got like really close to legend like multiple seasons way back in the day. But
Shit.
I don't know what the meta is right now. I don't know what's going on, so I haven't really delved into that. You know what I mean?
The meta, man. People need to play games without metas. I hate that.
No. But you see, the key is just that it's not even about playing a meta deck. It's about the fact that I have to know what my opponent's going to do so I can effectively play my deck. So I
man.
just
I
gotta
think
get used to what's popular.
that's the sort of thing why I stopped playing stuff like Hearthstone. It's just people just min-max the shit out of their meta decks, and then it's just like always the same goddamn thing.
I'm
So
the
lame.
kind of guy who played League of Legends for like 3 or 4 years or
Oh.
some shit. So
Ooh.
Wow.
That hurts.
I'm used. I mean, I played Yu-Gi-Oh, albeit not quite as competitively, since I was like 10, which is
Yeah.
a good segue into the fact that I've been playing more Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing, and not just like the physical game, Master Duel, which is like the online version they have, and then Dueling Book, which is kind of like an unofficial way to play Yu-Gi-Oh, as it were.
Uh-oh.
But it's one that's pretty well known. It has the ability to put your own custom cards in, and I've been I've been putting in all these custom cards I had made because, dude, let me tell you, way back as a teenager, I was on a website called ZeroCreative.com. Not zero with a Z, zero with an X. You see, but
Okay.
Whoa there.
What?
it's crazy and wild. But I was part of a
Extreme.
whole extreme creativity, radical, dude. But I was part of a group which was the Zero Creative card game, and we like had a whole system where we'd make our own sets and stuff. As a group, we ended up making 22,593 cards.
Underachievers.
Fuck. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
But I don't have quite that many, but I have probably a good like 1,000 custom cards. I've just been every once in a while chipping in, because once you put them in, your friends can make decks with them, and you can have fun and play with them instead of just being in your head.
Yeah, that's the cool part.
That's fair.
I would be all
Yeah.
over that too, like back in the day, but I didn't know about this.
Well, hey, if you ever wanted to join in on Frozen Roy on Dueling Book, there you go.
I need to look this up right now.
Drop
Need to
the
make Tetris
episode.
cards.
I mean, you could. No reason you couldn't.
The T block is gonna be the strongest. Okay, anyway. Go
How
on.
about I mean, there's not much to say. It's Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm not a big fan of the direction modern Yu-Gi-Oh took, but I will say, how about you go next, Matt? Because I'm interested in your playing games.
Oh shit, yeah, sure, whatever. I guess I'll start with the pinball one that I alluded to earlier. Because there's a good pinball game that I found that's called Pinball of the Dead for the Game Boy Advance, which I assume it's based on House of the Dead on the franchise. I have no, relationship to House of the Dead, except for Pinball of the Dead, which is dope.
Of course.
It
It is
has,
House of the Dead related, looking it up.
yeah, I figured. It has, was it? I think it's 3 pinball tables that are based on some locations of that franchise that are like, they look super cool. They're really, really full of cool visual elements and different interactive elements that actually make them unique from each other. And you play pinball, you shoot the pinball into zombies to kill them and whatever. You do the usual thing of activating different things by, doing whatever the pinball table tells you to do or whatever. A little bit of a puzzle element in there. And apparently there's a system that you can activate boss fights, and there, from what I've read, are 6 boss fights that you can defeat to beat the game. And it just
A
feels
pinball game you can actually beat? Crazy.
It seems like it, and it just feels good. It looks super cool, and I'm so looking forward to playing more of this. I don't know if I'm actually gonna beat those 6 boss fights, because getting it to activate even once is already, like, to me at least, like a whole nightmare chore. It's pretty difficult, but I'm still having enough fun to going back to that and trying it out. And the other
So
game
much
that I'm
better than the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball
Oh,
Frenzy is the impression
it's
I'm getting.
genuinely on a way different like level in terms of quality.
Little Mermaid 2 walked so this game could run.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
That's why she wanted the legs. Ariel was like, I need to.
Oh my god. I'm glad we found that connection. So speaking of running, my other game doesn't involve any running because it's about driving.
Speaking of running, imagine the opposite.
Now, how about that segue?
Speed.
My other current game is Snowmoto Racing Freedom. I'm playing on PC. I think it's also on Switch and whatever. It's a
So it's a
snowmobile. No. This actually fairly recent. It's somewhere in the 2010s, I believe. I don't know.
All right, I gotta look it up.
And it's a snowmobile racing game that, it has both like actual track races on a predetermined track and also so-called sprint races where there are just a bunch of checkpoints strewn around the snowy environment and you just have to get through them in whatever path you choose. And it's just one of those games that are solid. They do their thing well without adding any like special bells and whistles. It's a decent time. I wouldn't call it like the best racing game of all time or whatever, but it's good enough to be fun. And that's why I'm planning on finishing it. I just love racing games and I just love snowy environments and I am always looking for games that combine those two. So this was just an easy choice to pick up at some point. Funnily enough, though, I originally got this. I think like 2 or 3 years ago, and when I originally played it, I was guest on How Long to Beat podcast season 2, I believe. And I already talked about this game back then, but I'd never finished it. And now I reinstalled it recently. And it's kind of fun to be here now as a co-host of season 4 and talking about this gosh darn game again.
Full circle moment.
Kind of a funny coincidence.
As the snowmoto racing goes, so does the host.
Yeah, the old saying that we all know and love.
My grandma used to tell me that.
Yes. Surely.
How you got through those snowy winters.
Okay. That's all I'm playing. Yeah, Diallo, how about you go next?
Okay, so the first game that I've been playing is a game that I mentioned a little bit earlier, Dead by Daylight. I don't know if you would call this a game as a service, but it's like the only like ongoing game that I kind of like regularly play at the moment. So they had a Halloween event recently, so I think my relationship of the game with the game as of recent has been log in during event times, grind for all the different like event goodies, and then get burned out and put it down until the next event. But yeah. So they just finished up the Halloween event, I think earlier this week. So I spent a couple nights, grinding that, got all the cosmetics that I wanted, and then felt the burnout. So now I'm going back to Dead by Daylight hibernation.
I need to know though, before you go on, I need to know who are your main killers.
Very good question.
Who do you play?
That's a very good question.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of like my survivor to killer ratio, historically I would say I'm kind of like about even, but I think I do play a little bit more killer overall than survivor. I'd probably say about 60% killer, 40% survivor. On the killer side, my first main was Sadako from The Ring.
Yes. Yes, legend. Very good.
Actually, so what got me started as playing a killer in Dead by Daylight in the first place was I won a code for the Sadako DLC from a Twitch giveaway, and I was like, oh, I've gotten this DLC now. I need to try playing killers. I can put it to use. So she was kind of like my entryway killer, my gateway killer.
Hell yeah. Same in other ways.
And then I think recently I really enjoy playing The Plague. I like The Plague a lot. And then Chucky and Xenomorph have also become two of my recent favorites.
Oh,
But I kind of bounced around
didn't know
too.
that
I had a
Xenomorph was
Dredge
in it.
phase.
That's
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, it's funny. I haven't seen The Ring. I haven't seen Chucky. I haven't seen Alien. But
yeah, sure. Yeah, Sadako rules. I when they announced Sadako as a playable character, I was very much thinking about starting to play this game as well, but I never got into it.
So I will warn you that it's very addictive. I started it being like, oh, I'll give DBD a try, and now it's like my most played game. So
Yeah, I got the Stranger Things and the Evil Dead add-ons, I guess.
Right.
And I tried to make that work because I was like, I already spent money on this. I'm gonna play it, and then I just couldn't get into it because everyone that I know that plays it are like so high levels, and they know what they're doing, and they know how to like play with each other. So I'm just kind of like, well, how do I press this? What do I do? And I'm dead. So I was like continually on a hook somewhere. So I was like, you know what? I was like, I can't do this. I need to play like the baby leagues or something.
So I play a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Another game that I've started recently is the Pokemon trading card game Pocket. I think they've been rolling out the release for this, but it's basically like an app, a virtual version of Pokemon trading card game. So you can open a pack of cards every 12 hours, and of course, if you like, it's kind of like gacha. So if you spend money, there are ways to speed up this process. But you can like open up the virtual cards. Eventually, you'll be able to trade with friends. There's this thing called Wonder Pick where one of your friends has picked like a really good card and you want to try getting it. You can like Wonder Pick their cards and you have like a 1 in 5 chance of getting that really cool card that you want. Okay. I started off being like, oh, I'll open the little virtual cards, like see what my collection ends up looking like. And I had like
that's how they get
atrocious luck at the beginning. All my friends were like, oh, I've gotten like 12 like super rare star cards and like all these like EX cards, and I just had nothing for the first 20-ish packs that I opened. I was like, my only rare card is the one that you get for free tutorial. Ooh. So with the start of this versus battle event, I've been and the solo battle event too, I've been delving a little bit into the battle side of the game, and that's gotten me a little bit hooked. Yeah. And then the other game that I've been playing kind of relates to Resident Evil 2. It's Crow Country, which is a survival horror game. Came out this year, and it takes a lot of inspiration from I guess the OG Resident Evil games. It's like styled like a very retro survival horror game. It's got a lot of the same like DNA. Yeah. I'm only about an hour in so far. I was playing it right before this call, so still I think a little bit early to give impressions. But so far the atmosphere seems pretty cool. Like this seems again like the kind of level of horror that I could handle. It's a very cartoony graphic style. Kind of has like the chunky polygon feel of like Final Fantasy VII and games like that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
get some screenshots.
Yeah. It seems like there's a variety of like different like areas to explore too. It takes place in like this theme park called Crow Country, and it's got a couple different areas. Like I've encountered this little like mushroom forest place so far, a little like haunted mansion style area. So I'm optimistic with this one. I've been seeing a lot of people play it, and they all seem to enjoy it so far. So I'm excited to see where this one goes. I guess the one complaint that I have so far is that
no crows.
No, no crows. Too many birds. 0 out of 10. No, the aiming is a little bit difficult for me. It's like it kind of like wobbles around a little bit, and like if you headshot enemies, it does more damage to them. But like trying to position it, you're what is the little aiming beam?
Radical?
Trying to like get it lined up with their heads. It's been, I don't know if it's like a mechanical issue or like a Diallo skill issue, but I haven't been super successful though so far.
I mean, I do feel like a shaky aiming laser reticle thing that could be like intentional horror scare thing.
Right.
Yeah. So that could be a game mechanic.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, is this an intentional thing to like up the drama, or is it just a questionable choice? But yeah, I'll keep you posted about how I feel about this game as I progress through it. But that's what I've been playing so far. Leah, do you want to close us out for this section?
Sure.
I can't wait for somebody to just answer like, no.
Actually, I quit.
on the bird theme, I was playing Death's Door, which was the game of the month last month. But it's really hard. It's like a Souls-like, and again, another game that I only was just like, I'm in just because you play a bird. But
that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's all you need from me. But it's like, I think I may be like 2 hours in or something. I played this like ages ago, and since it was I had retired it, or not really, it was just kind of like paused, and then it was surprised it's been 2 years. So I picked it up for Game of the Month again, and it's still freaking hard, and there have been no like accessibility additions since. So I kind of was just like, well, a lot of people seem to be having the same issue as me, so it's not a skill issue, thankfully. But or maybe it is, we just all have the same skill issue, I don't know. So yeah, so I kind of just paused that one for now.
One has a skill issue.
And then I also, the game of the month this month, Doom Eternal. I started playing that, but again, I didn't get very far because I've been pretty busy during the times of day that I usually would game. I've been doing other things. So literally, I think I can say that I looked at the title screen and that was about it for that. So did I play it really? We will find out later. Dredge.
Oh yeah.
Which has been dredging on for me for the longest, because I was like, oh, this is going to be a quick game. And I think I'm like 28 hours in and have not finished like the main. I'm really, at this point, I just want to finish the main storyline, but I don't know where these items are. So I've completely maxed out the whole of my ship. My ship has everything maxed out. I'm lost on these three main, like, it's at the point where I'm just going to just look up a walkthrough and be like, please tell me which section of the map I should be on, because I'm so lost.
Do you have the DLC as well, or is this just the base game?
I just have the base game. So we'll see if I get around to the DLC, because I was like, if it's taking me long to get through the base game, I wanted to do all the DLC, but I was like, I don't know if that's gonna be possible.
That's very fair.
But speaking of DLC, what I've also been playing is the DLC for Lake, which is a game that I played on stream, I want to say last year, which, as my friend calls it, it's the prequel to Death Stranding, because it's basically it's basically a Hallmark movie where this girl goes back to her like country home, and I guess her dad was like the mail guy, but he's on a trip or something. So you go around the town and you deliver people's mail.
Hey,
So I played it last year, I think, and it was kind of okay, but like I don't like that whole, I'm a city person, so like I don't like the whole like you're gonna go home for the holidays and you're gonna love it so much you're just gonna give up your city life. And I was like, no, what? Like, so I was trying. There's multiple endings, and I was trying so hard to get like the point where she's just like, no, I'm going back to the city, but apparently that's not an option.
I miss the city pigeons.
Yeah. And so they came out with this DLC, and the thing is, I was playing Lake on Game Pass. I don't have Game Pass currently. So now the DLC came out, so I had to buy the game to buy the DLC so I could have. So that was the thing. But I'm in the middle of the DLC right now. I think I'm like 2 hours in, and it's been good. And apparently they also included now, or maybe it was and I just didn't care or noticed it before, but there's also like an endless version, which it's a cute game, but I don't know why I would play endlessly if there's nothing to collect. Like every day, they're like, here's 5 packages, go send them out. Okay, the next day, send these 5 packages out. And I was like, there's no story, there's no new characters. Why am I just going to do this endlessly? So maybe some streamer somewhere has come up. Yeah. Like I'll play it for like an hour and then be like, okay, I'll just play the main story again. Like there's multiple endings. I can do that, you know? So I played the endless just to get back into the controls, and I was like, all right, let's start the DLC. So But it's a fun little cute little game.
Yeah, I've seen it
The
around.
developer,
It
I
looks
think,
good.
yeah, the developer has done like a few other interesting games. Not anything alike it, but it's one of those gems where it's like I don't know how to like recommend it to people, but it's because it's like a kind of like a cozy game, but it's not a farming cozy game, which everybody seems to love. So it's like it's kind of hard to like recommend to people, but it's I enjoyed it, and the story is pretty cool. So
I've watched people play a little bit of it. I like it having it on in the background. I think it's a very sort of like chill experience as a viewer.
yeah, and also the soundtrack gets in your head. Like it's just things that are on the radio as you're driving around in your truck. But like for the last 3 days, I've had the song, and I was like, "This song again, stuck in my head." So
It's just like Christmas.
it's yeah. But honestly, the Lake soundtrack and I'll Be Brave Tomorrow, I'm going to look. I know that I'll Be Brave Tomorrow soundtrack is available on Steam, but I have to look if the Lake one is, or if I can just find the songs on Spotify. I don't even know if they're like copyrighted or not. But those two have been like some of the best soundtracks that I've listened to, been forced to listen to as they played the game in recent months.
Forced. Sounds very enjoyable. You're selling it.
Yes.
This game will
Yeah.
force you to listen to the soundtrack by gunpoint.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe the DLC will finally add that city option.
Yeah. Yeah, if they see, like, now I own the game, so there better be another DLC at this point. Because I bought it just to play the DLC. And then there's nothing else. Well, I guess I have endless mode, but still.
What I'm
It's
scared
endless.
of here, the DLC Season's Greetings sounds very much like, there's gonna be Christmas shit. Is it forcing you to listen to Christmas music?
No,
And
it's the
because that
same
would be a
soundtrack.
nightmare.
No.
Okay, good. Thank God. That would be a deal
I was
breaker.
wondering if it was going to be Christmas stuff, and then as it started, I was like, I know this song. Where do I know this song? Oh, it's from this game. So, yeah.
Okay. Damn, dodged a bullet.
Well, if we do the My Chemical Romance Christmas album, I'm good.
Jesus fucking Christ.
No
Okay.
cap.
So that's there was all the games that we are playing, and I think it's time for the soapbox segment for the listeners. So the soapbox segment is a thing that we have come up with off camera, and it seems like we are gonna get our first taste of that here. The soapbox is gonna be a segment where one of us is getting 3 unbroken minutes to rant about a topic of their choice. Again, it's more emotions than thoughts that this is about. So no promises about this being coherent or anything. This is just gonna be the little.
It's a soapbox.
It's a soapbox. Somebody's just gonna yap about something, and today apparently it's gonna be Roy yapping about the state of Yu-Gi-Oh. So
I'd also say, just as an explanation for the viewers, it could be a positive or a negative. It doesn't have to be like
sure, I'm positive.
We
see
only want
about
scalding
that.
hot takes.
Exactly.
All right.
Are you ready, Roy? I'm gonna put on the 3 minutes.
Let me get a drink to make sure my mouth isn't dry out partway through.
Get that good wet.
Hydro homies, where you at?
Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go ahead.
Okay, so the biggest problem I have with the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the fact that card economy and power creep has become completely insane. Because of the fact that, back in the day when you had to make a monster and had to do stuff, it actually cost cards. You didn't just search your entire deck to find whatever you wanted at any time. To the point where every deck needs to run like 6 of the exact same hand trap, which can be activated from the hand, doesn't even need to be sent to the field, in order to stop every other deck from comboing to like 3 monsters with 2 Omni negates, while still having like 3 cards in hand. So you end up with these huge boards with monsters that can probably kill you in one turn, but you can't actually chew through them because of the fact they can negate whatever you play unless they have these certain conditions, which is also sometimes troublesome to read through with all the card text. Then on top of that, you get the fact that you get stupid shit like pendulum monsters. Now, I don't mind link monsters as much because link monsters, I don't like the fact they don't have a defense stat, but the way that they point at cards is cool. You can get some unique events. But pendulum monsters, they're not that complex once you actually understand them, but they're not really intuitive. And also, they tend to function a lot like a one-turn kill deck, it feels like, when they actually work optimally for the mechanic. And it just gets kind of frustrating and stupid. Like, I get the idea of having, this can be a continuous spell card or a monster card, but, then you get the whole pendulum scale, and you have to put these little things on the corner of the spell and trap zone. It just kind of looks funky, too. I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that. But, it's just like, there's like a bunch of cool archetypes I like Dragon Mage archetype, and Sky Striker's like a cool exploration of links, but then you get to really stupid stuff, and it's like, there's a turn timer on Master Duel that's like 5 minutes, and sometimes it will tick down like 2 or 3 minutes just from you activating all your effects before you actually do anything with your cards. And it's like, all right, let's just calm down a little. And you don't need to have all these cards that are so powerful. Just calm down a little on the power creep. Not too much. You don't have to go super old school, but just a little bit. Like, yeah, they go back to retrade stuff like the U-Bell cards, and I think that was like a disaster, but I don't really know the whole details. But it just gets silly after a point. Like, I even when I run Dragon Mage, which is a deck I like, I can fusion summon like 2 monsters that have Omni Negates, and when they Omni Negate, they return to the extra deck, and then they also summon a monster. But on top of that, I still have like Searchers in my hand, and I can keep repeatedly gain the fusion card back from my graveyard by spinning it back into my hand. So it's like I just keep searching forever, and I get all these Omni Negates, and like, sure, some opponents can deal with it, but still, it's just kind of crazy. Yeah, there we go.
Fucking crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
There's something so beautiful about nonsensical non-rage. I have no idea what the fuck you are talking about, but it's so great.
I didn't have time to explain the mechanics, so I just kind of had to go in.
Yeah. Here's my question, though. After hearing all of that, why don't you just play Magic the Gathering instead?
Okay, if you really wanted me to go on a soapbox, Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! play extremely. The answer is that I actually do play Magic, but they play very differently. Yu-Gi-Oh!
One's better than the other.
Unfortunately, one thing is Magic is also going through a bit of a dork period. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The other thing is that Magic is a game where the gating is more around things like mana, land, that kind of thing. The gating on Yu-Gi-Oh! Tends to be resources like card economy and how you can special summon monsters because there is no mana. So the way each card game is gating their power levels is completely different. Plus, they have very different battle systems.
That's true. Fuck. Well, props to you for having filled those 3 minutes. It was pretty impressive.
I'm gonna go off with Madden time.
Jesus Christ. Well, that was the first soapbox, everybody. Anybody got some thoughts they want to share after that nuclear bomb?
Should we call it a day for this?
That sounds like a good idea.
So,
bye.
Goodbye.
And that's it for this episode of the How Long to Beat podcast. See you next time. That was terrible.
Later day.
I think it's fine. I think that's completely fine.
Bye.
Bye.
Later day.